Though Foam Lily was crying, her eyes never left the man who had abducted them. What if we tie him up first? Once we're safe, we can figure out how to find the exit. That works. Let's get free of these ropes on our hands first, then use them to restrain him. Chin Lijun strained hard. Suddenly, the rope on her hands went loose, and she broke free. Huh. The rope around my hands wasn't tied tight. I just struggled a little and it came undone. I'll try too. Foam Lily copied what Chin Lijun had done and pulled hard, yet her ropes would not give way. I can't get mine loose. Come untie me quickly. All right. I'll get the ropes off my feet first, then I'll help you. Chin Lijun glanced down at the ropes binding her ankles and fell deep in thought. The rope on her hands had been a slipknot and fastened loosely. Could the human trafficker have intentionally wanted them to escape? Tight fixed knots were hard to undo. It took Chin Lijun a great deal of effort to work hers free. Outside the door, Li Qinglan was growing impatient. She had deliberately replaced the rope on Chin Lijun's wrists with a slipknot. They should have been able to get out long ago. If she had not known the girls were safe, she would have burst inside to pull them out herself. Down in the basement, once Chin Lijun had untangled herself, she hurried over to free Foam Lily. Foam Lily's ropes were fixed knots, but not pulled taut, and soon both of them could move freely. What do we do now? Should we tie up the trafficker or look for the exit first? Foam Lily bit back sobs. If they woke the man, they would never get away. Find the exit first. All our noise hasn't roused him, so he must be sound asleep. Still, to be safe, we ought to knock him unconscious. Chin Lijun stood, picked up a wooden plank from the cellar, and struck the trafficker hard across the head. The man let out a groan and slipped back into unconsciousness. A gash split his forehead, and blood streamed down his face. Chin Lijun, what if he dies? Foam Lily shuddered at how forcefully Chin Lijun had struck. A flicker of fear crossed her mind. What if Chin Lijun turned that violence on her later? He'll be fine. Let's get out of here. We can sort everything else out once we're away. For some unspoken reason, Chin Lijun suddenly smiled. She stepped over to the trafficker and began patting down his clothes. After a moment, she pulled out a stack of paper money. Lily, want me to give you some? I can't take that. You keep it. Rest assured, I won't tell anyone you took money from the trafficker. Foam Lily waved her hands in alarm. She was intimidated by Chin Lijun. Trapped alone in the basement with her, she dared not offend her. She had no way of knowing what might happen to her. Suit yourself. Let's find the exit. Chin Lijun had not expected much help from Foam Lily. All she wanted was for the other girl not to hold her back. The basement exit was hardly hidden. Guided indirectly by Li Qinglan's earlier meddling, Chin Lijun quickly located the switch behind a table. Stepping out of the basement, Chin Lijun and Foam Lily both heaved a sigh of relief. They had truly feared for their lives. Chin Lijun, where do we go now? Foam Lily clutched tightly at Chin Lijun's clothing, terrified that Chin Lijun might abandon her and run off alone. We follow this path until we reach the main road. We'll work out our next move from there. Dusk had fallen. Chin Lijun headed in a direction guided only by instinct. Seeing the two girls emerge from the basement, Li Qinglan slipped away through another alley. She planned to chance upon them at the road junction outside. Chin Lijun, still pulling Foam Lily along, reached the intersection and spotted a figure walking toward them in the distance. As the person drew near, Chin Lijun recognized an acquaintance. Comrade Li, what are you doing here? Chin Lijun stared in surprise. She had thought Li Qinglan had gone up into the mountains earlier that day. Sister Qinglan, I'm so glad to have found you. Foam Lily threw herself toward Li Qinglan and burst into tears against her shoulder. There now, Lily, don't cry. Where have you been? Gu Qinghuai and the others have already reported your disappearance to the Public Security Bureau. Come with me right away. Li Qinglan pretended to know nothing of what had happened and tried to steer Foam Lily toward the police station. Sister Qinglan, we ran into human traffickers. They locked us in a basement. I was so scared. I thought I would never see you again. Foam Lily wept and hiccuped as she poured out her story. Where's the trafficker? Did he get away? Li Qinglan leaned back slightly to avoid Foam Lily's tear-stained embrace. He's still in the basement. I knocked him out. He should still be unconscious, Chin Lijun said, unease gnawing at her. She worried she might have injured him fatally. Let us go to the Public Security Bureau first. The police can go retrieve the trafficker later, Li Qinglan said. She did not want to go near that cellar again. If she were seen there, her secret would come out. All right, let's hurry. Chin Lijun nodded. She had no wish to set foot in that basement ever again. At the Public Security Bureau, the captain, Gu Qinghuai, and the rest of the search party had returned empty-handed. They had found no trace of Feng Lili, Chen Lijun, or Li Qinglan. Captain, what do we do now? We lost track of Comrade Li as well. Gu Qinghuai frowned deeply. He had only stepped away for a short while, and Chen Lijun had vanished. Don't worry about Comrade Li. She can fend for herself even against wild boars. Human traffickers won't get the better of her. My concern is Comrade Feng and Comrade Chen. They are ordinary young women with no means to defend themselves. If they fell into traffickers' hands, the outcome could be terrible. The captain was deeply anxious. If harm befell the two educated youth, he would bear heavy responsibility. So are we just supposed to wait here? Gu Qinghuai longed to keep searching, yet the city stretched out vast and unknown. He had no idea where to begin. That is exactly what we must do. Officers are out combing the area. We can only wait for news. The captain sighed. If they wandered off searching, they might get lost and create extra work for the police. Li Qinglan and the others reached the entrance of the Public Security Bureau and saw a group of people advancing toward them with flashlights. Soon the two groups met at the gate. Wang Jiwei and Li Nan led 6 police officers. Feng Lili, Chen Lijun, where on earth have you been? Wang Jiwei hurried forward. He had promised Feng Lili's father back in the city that he would look after her, and the thought of failing that promise had terrified him. We ran into human traffickers. If luck hadn't been on our side, you would never have seen us again. Feng Lili shuddered, recalling her ordeal. She had only gone to the post office to telephone her parents, and in that moment disaster had struck. Where is this trafficker? The police officers behind Wang Jiwei tensed up at the mention of criminals. He is in an abandoned courtyard over there. We knocked him unconscious. He should still be out. Chen Lijun cut in quickly, afraid Feng Lili would muddle the facts. Would you be willing to lead us there? Comrade Li, and I can show you the way. Wang Jiwei, take Feng Lili back to rest. She has been through a terrible fright today. Chen Lijun normally liked to act delicate and frail, but this was a chance to earn merit, and she had no intention of letting it slip away. Very well. Stay close to the officers and be careful. Relieved the girls were safe, Wang Jiwei led Feng Lili back inside to wait. On the way to the courtyard, Li Qinglan walked silently behind Chen Lijun. She would feign total ignorance. No one need know she had set foot in that basement. Guided by Chen Lijun, the police quickly located the run-down courtyard. From there, the matter passed out of the young women's hands. Nearly half an hour later, the officers emerged from the basement. They brought out not only the trafficker but also items Li Qinglan had left behind. Back at the Public Security Bureau, Li Qinglan and Chen Lijun gave formal statements. By the time everything was finished, it was past 10 o'clock at night. The captain and the others sat waiting outside the gate, some of them nodding off. Sister Qinglan, you are finally out. I am so sorry. If I had not gone missing, you would not have had to stay at the bureau so late. Feng Lili wore a look of genuine remorse. You are safe, that is what matters. Where is factory director he? I saw him and his wife with you earlier. Li Qinglan glanced behind Feng Lili but saw no sign of the couple. They went back to rest. There was no point for them to stay once I was safe. Feng Lili had been badly shaken. She resolved never to come into the city alone again. Let us head back then. I need to work up in the mountains tomorrow. I will not manage to get up if I do not sleep well. Li Qinglan pulled a flashlight from her pocket and prepared to set off. Just then, the police officer who had taken their statements stepped outside. Wait a moment. We will arrange a vehicle to drive you home. There is no need to trouble yourselves. We can walk, the captain said. He disliked imposing on the police. The walk back was not overly long. It is far too late for you to travel on foot. Part of the route home goes through mountain woods. There is a risk of wolves coming down from the hills after dark. The officer felt responsible for their safety. He could not bear for anything to happen to them on the journey. We are many. A pack of wolves would not frighten us. You have urgent work to attend to. We will not trouble you further, Li Qinglan said. Even if wolves did appear, she was confident she could handle them. Exactly, we will be fine, Gu Qinghuai added. Only about 1 kilometer of the journey back to Dave village ran through forest. Most of it was along open roads. Everyone except Chen Lijun and Feng Lili knew how to defend themselves. Very well. Travel carefully and stay alert. The officer did not press the point. The bureau only had one vehicle, and it could not carry them all at once. On the journey home, Li Qinglan walked ahead with Feng Lili. Seeing that Gu Qinghuai wanted to speak privately with Chen Lijun, Wang Jiwei quickened his pace. taking Li Nan and the captain to catch up with the two girls in front. Once the others were out of earshot, Gu Qinghuai took Chen Lijun by the hand. "Lijun, are you all right?" "I was so terrified. Thank goodness you are unharmed." "I am fine." Chen Lijun shook her head. Her fear from the basement had faded the instant she had laid eyes on Li Qinglan. Today's events had left her disappointed in Gu Qinghuai. She had thought he would protect her. Yet when real danger came, he had not measured up to Li Qinglan. Li Qinglan had appeared shortly after their escape, while Gu Qinghuai had waited passively at the police station. "I told you to wait for me outside the post office. How did you and Feng Lily end up being abducted?" Gu Qinghuai had come out of the post office to find Chen Lijun gone, assuming she had headed back early. He would never have guessed she had been kidnapped if he had not run into factory director He. "I was talking with Feng Lily in the alley beside the post office. Someone suddenly clamped a hand over my mouth and dragged me away. When I woke up, I was in that basement." Chen Lijun still could not fathom how they had been targeted in broad daylight where so many people passed by. That alley sees plenty of foot traffic. Those traffickers are unbelievably bold. Next time you come to town, stick close to the rest of us. "I understand." Chen Lijun fell silent. Darkness made the path slow going. It took more than an hour before they reached the educated youth compound. Everyone else was asleep, and the courtyard lay quiet. Li Qinglan had just gotten ready for bed when someone knocked on her door. Thinking it was Feng Lily, she opened it to find Hu Xiaomei. "These are pancakes I made tonight. Give some to Feng Lily and the others to quiet their hunger." Hu Xiaomei pressed a plate into Li Qinglan's hands and turned to leave immediately. Li Qinglan stared after her in bewilderment. Hu Xiaomei, the sharp-tongued, fiery, tempered educated youth, had brought them food. That was most unexpected. Shortly after Hu Xiaomei left, Feng Lily stepped out of her room. "Who is that talking to you just now?" "Comrade Hu from the front courtyard. She brought us some pancakes." Li Qinglan held out the plate. Could she have spat in them? Hu Xiaomei being this nice? I find that hard to believe. I would believe it if these had come from Chenninghua, but Hu Xiaomei? Never. "Do you want some or not?" "If not, I will take them away." Li Qinglan did not think Hu Xiaomei would stoop to such meanness. The girl had a bad temper and quarreled often. But she was not wicked enough to harm others. "Of course I will eat them. I am starving." Feng Lily helped herself to 2 pancakes at once. Li Qinglan tried one as well. Without much seasoning or meat, the simple flatbread was surprisingly tasty and chewy. Feng Lily reached for a third and would have taken a fourth if Li Qinglan had stopped her. "That is enough for a light supper. We need to save some for Chen Lijun and the others." Li Qinglan only ate 1 pancake. She had food stored in her spatial storage, so she was happy to let the rest go to others. "All right. I am going to bed. Wake me tomorrow morning. I am coming up the mountain with you." Feng Lily returned to her room and closed the door. Li Qinglan had hoped Feng Lily would deliver the remaining pancakes to Chen Lijun and Gu Qinghuai. Since Feng Lily had already gone inside, Li Qinglan had to take them over herself. Chen Lijun looked surprised to hear the pancakes came from Hu Xiaomei. Hu Xiaomei had picked fights with her several times. She had thought their relationship was completely broken. She never would have guessed Hu Xiaomei was the only one thinking of their empty stomachs. "Comrade Li, do you think something is wrong with Comrade Hu?" Chen Lijun could not understand Hu Xiaomei's gesture. "I cannot say. Since she sent them, we ought to accept her kindness. But what if she poisoned them? What if we get sick after eating?" Chen Lijun hesitated. Given their bad history, accepting food from Hu Xiaomei made her deeply uncomfortable. Even spit in the food would be revolting. "Feng Lily and I have already tasted them. They're fine," Li Qinglan assured her. "I still cannot bring myself to eat them. Go ask Gu Qinghuai and the others." Chen Lijun shook her head. Her misgivings were too strong. "Very well. I will give them to Wang Jiwei and the others then." Li Qinglan did not press her. Wang Jiwei, who had been listening secretly from the next room, opened his door right away. "If Li Jun will not eat them, we will. We missed dinner tonight, and we are famished." Teenage boys in their late teens needed a great deal of food. He had been hungry for hours, but had felt too awkward to ask anyone to cook so late. "Take them and share them among the 3 of you. Remember to wash the plate and return it to Hu Xiaomei." Li Qinglan handed over the plate and went back to her own room to sleep. It was far too late, and she needed rest for the next day. She slept soundly until dawn. Voices outside woke her. Aunt Wang and Zhang Guilan had heard Li Qinglan had gathered a large quantity of hazelnuts on the mountain the previous day, and they had come to ask if she would go up the mountain with them. "They came back so late last night, they're probably still asleep." Let's head up the mountain first and come back for her at noon. Seeing that Li Qinglan's dormitory door was tightly shut, second Aunt Wang knew she hadn't gotten up yet. Educated youth Li usually gets up really early. Should we knock on the door? Zhang Guilan was eager to go up the mountain to pick hazelnuts and was unwilling to leave so easily. She had searched the nearby hills the day before, but all the hazelnuts she found were still unripe. That was why she wanted Li Qinglan to show her the way. You're right. She does usually get up early. She's probably awake already. Second Aunt Wang stepped forward to knock on the door. Before her hand could touch the wooden panel, the door swung open from inside. Auntie, team leader. It's you too. Why are you out so early today? Li Qinglan rubbed her eyes and saw that the sun had already risen high in the sky. Could you take us up the mountain to gather hazelnuts? Second Aunt Wang looked a little embarrassed. After all, Li Qinglan had only just found that early, ripening hazelnut grove, and asking for her help was really putting her on the spot. Sure. Wait for me a moment. I'll heat up some breakfast first. I have leftover steamed buns from last night. I just need to boil some water to warm them through. Li Qinglan possessed a wood element superpower. She could get as many hazelnuts as she wanted, so there was no need for her to be stingy. Second Aunt Wang and Zhang Guilan had helped her a great deal these days. Relationships built on mutual favors were the ones that lasted. You don't need to heat your own breakfast. On my way out, I brought you 2 shepherds, purse buns and some corn mush. It ought to be enough for your appetite. I just wonder whether you care for grain, base shepherds, purse buns. Zhang Guilan pulled a lidded enamel bowl out of her wicker basket, holding the breakfast she had prepared for Li Qinglan. Wow, team leader, you even brought me breakfast. You're so kind to me. Li Qinglan was genuinely surprised. She had not expected Zhang Guilan to be so thoughtful. She felt she ought to lead them to gather plenty of hazelnuts to repay this kindness. It's nothing, just something I grabbed on the way. Try my shepherd's purse bun and tell me what you think. I saw you digging lots of shepherd's purse last time, so I figured you liked buns made with it. Zhang Guilan was on good terms with Li Qinglan, otherwise she would not have generously given away food. Shepherd's purse cost nothing, but grain was extremely precious. It's delicious, team leader. You're such a good cook. You can make even a simple shepherd's purse bun taste wonderful. I bet you do amazing at preparing a feast. Next time I catch a wild pheasant, I'll have to ask you to make chicken stew with mushrooms for me. I'd love to try this famous northeastern dish. Of course. Just say the word, and I'll show you what I can do. Praise from Li Qinglan made Zhang Guilan grin from ear to ear, boosting her confidence in her cooking skills. Li Qinglan quickly washed up, finished the breakfast Zhang Guilan had brought, and set off up the mountain with the 2 women. They had left rather late and ran into many villagers along the way. The villagers barely knew Li Qinglan and hesitated to follow along. Li Qinglan did not plan to go deep into the mountains today. She had found a hazelnut grove near the outer forest the day before, so she would take them there. They walked for nearly an hour before Li Qinglan led Second Aunt Wang and Zhang Guilan to a hazelnut grove close to a thicket of brambles. This grove was smaller than the one where she had killed the wild boar the previous day, but it was much nearer. Educated youth Li, there looked to be wild boar tracks here. What if we run into one? Seeing the hoof prints in the dirt, Second Aunt Wang grew nervous. They would not be able to run fast if a boar appeared. It's fine. These tracks are old. The boar is long gone. Li Qinglan suspected the boar had only passed through. It might even be tracks left by the sow she had killed. That sow is dead. The 2 piglets that had fled no longer had a mother to protect them. Deep in these mountains roamed wolf packs. Frightened, the little ones would have fled further into the wilderness, and it would be no surprise if wolves got them. Why worry? With educated youth Li here, if a boar shows up, the whole village gets extra meat. Zhang Guilan was not afraid. She had come along precisely because she trusted Li Qinglan's capabilities. You're dreaming. Last time educated youth Li turned in that boar, she got a terrible deal. Such a huge boar only earned her 50 work points. That's hardly fair. Second Aunt Wang disapproved strongly of the brigade leader's decision. A boar like that ought to be worth at least 100 work points. Based on last year's rates, each work point was worth 7 cents. 50 points added up to only 3 yuan and 50 jiao. It was shameful. 50 work points is indeed too little, but our brigade's harvest is poor. After distributing grain each year, there's almost nothing left. Even though Dave Village was fairly close to Harbin, there were few fields and many people. Once public grain was handed over, there was barely enough for everyone's rations. Team leader, are our brigade harvests really that bad? Most of what Li Qinglan knew about Dade Village came from a novel, which focused mostly on romance and rarely mentioned crop yields. It's passable. There just isn't enough land for all our people. After handing over public grain, little remains. Zhang Guilan sighed. Times were hard for everyone, and the brigade leader could hardly be blamed for being thrifty. Li Qinglan nodded thoughtfully. Hybrid rice had not yet been developed, so rice yields were naturally low. Chemical fertilizer was also not widely available, making harvests even poorer. They chatted a little longer before starting to knock down hazelnuts. Thanks to Li Qinglan's power, all the hazelnuts on the trees were fully ripe. When they tapped the branches with sticks, hazelnuts rained down. Growing tired of using sticks, Li Qinglan pulled her basket over her head for protection and shook the trees hard. Hazelnuts poured down as she shook. When most had fallen, she stopped to gather them. Second Aunt Wang and Zhang Guilan also wanted to shake trees, but lacked the strength, so they gave up. Li Qinglan worked quickly. Soon her basket and the woven sacks she had brought were full. By comparison, Second Aunt Wang and Zhang Guilan had barely half filled theirs. Wanting to head home early, Li Qinglan told them to stop gathering. She would shake the trees for them, and they could just pick up the nuts. She shook 5 trees in a row before pausing, staring at the ground thick with hazelnuts. She would shake more once they finished collecting these. As Li Qinglan prepared to sit down and rest, she spotted a flock of wild pheasants foraging not far away. She crept closer and lunged, catching the largest pheasant with her bare hands, relying only on her physical skill instead of her powers. The rest of the flock scattered in fright. One pheasant flew off in such a panic that it crashed straight into Li Qinglan's arms. Li Qinglan stared in astonishment. What unbelievable luck! Zhang Guilan and Second Aunt Wang, who had been picking hazelnuts, looked over. Their eyes widened at the sight of the pheasants in Li Qinglan's arms. Educated youthly, your luck is incredible. A pheasant flew right into you. I'm so jealous. Zhang Guilan's eyes practically sparkled with envy. She wished she could have such good fortune. I didn't expect that either, haha. Looks like the pheasants want to come home with me. Li Qinglan weighed the 2 birds in her hands. They must have weighed 2 or 3 jin together. They would make a big pot of chicken stew with mushrooms. You could salt and air dry these pheasants. Then you'd have meat to eat through the winter. Second Aunt Wang forced herself to look away. The birds belonged to Li Qinglan, and she must not covet them. Dried pheasant meat is too tough. I don't care for it. Fresh chicken stew with mushrooms sounds much better. Tonight we can put your cooking skills to the test, team leader. Li Qinglan had no interest in preserved meat. Fresh meat tasted far superior. Wait, you want to cook both pheasants at once? Isn't that a bit extravagant? Zhang Guilan was shocked. Eating 2 pheasants in one evening was unheard of. Not really. Everyone who's here gets a share. I'd also like some pickled cabbage from Auntie's house and vermicelli from yours. I'll trade some chicken for them. Li Qinglan planned to exchange chicken for those goods. Second Aunt Wang's pickled cabbage was wonderfully tangy and crisp, perfect for whetting the appetite. Zhang Guilan's vermicelli was chewy and delicious. You don't need to trade chicken for pickled cabbage. Just ask and I'll give you some. It's worthless anyway. I need to empty the crock soon to make new pickled cabbage once the cabbages are ready. Second Aunt Wang waved her hands, embarrassed to accept chicken in return. That's right. Come get vermicelli whenever you want. You don't need to give us chicken. Save the birds and dry them for winter. Seeing Second Aunt Wang refuse, Zhang Guilan also declined. How can I take your things without giving something in return? Besides, pheasants are nothing special to me. I can go up the mountain and catch more whenever I feel like it. Li Qinglan truly wanted to make an exchange. She had plenty of meat, but she lacked pickled cabbage and vermicelli. Very well then. Put the pheasants in my basket. I'll take them back, dress them, and send the stew over to you. After thinking it over, Zhang Guilan finally agreed. Few people got the chance to trade vermicelli for meat. She owed this opportunity to her good relationship with Li Qinglan. Great. I'm really looking forward to your chicken stew with mushrooms. Li Qinglan breathed a sigh of relief when Zhang Guilan accepted. She preferred to avoid owing favors, even if it meant giving up something of her own. Let's hurry and finish gathering. I'll kill the chickens this afternoon and have the stew ready tonight. Zhang Guilan picked hazelnuts faster, eager to fill the sacks and head home. There were so many hazelnuts on the ground that it took more than an hour to collect them all. When they headed down the mountain, Li Qinglan carried a basket of hazelnuts on her back, slung 2 large sacks over her shoulders, and also hauled a dry log she had found. It would make good fuel for heating the kang through winter. Before she reached the educated youth compound, she heard loud arguing coming from the front yard. Worried that something serious had happened, she quickly stowed her hazelnuts in her dormitory and hurried over. Hu Xiaomei, how dare you give our grain to the educated youths in the backyard without asking us first? We barely have enough food for ourselves as it is. Wang Dia was furious. She had gone to bed early the night before and had not known Hu Xiaomei had made pancakes for the others until Gu Qinghuai brought the empty plate back. I used my own grain to make those. It's none of your business. Hu Xiaomei rolled her eyes. She had done it on purpose. Why should she keep feeding people who took her kindness for granted? Xiaomei, what you did was wrong. You ought to get that grain back from them. We really don't have much to spare. Chen Yinghua stared anxiously at the shrinking grain sacks. You're ridiculous. Why are you talking to me about grain? Who earns full work points every day? You certainly don't. Hu Xiaomei was tired of putting up with them. She had once feared being ostracized if she refused to share meals. Before Li Qinglan arrived, she had earned more work points than anyone else in the compound. She had given away her grain to keep the peace. Now that she refused to keep losing out, everyone turned on her. We live as a group. Grain is pooled together. How can you prove that grain was yours? Wang Dia's words made Hu Xiaomei laugh bitterly. Silent people are the most cunning. Wang Dia, I treated you well, yet you lead others to gang up on me. You're the one who did wrong. I'm just telling the truth. Wang Dia had long resented Hu Xiaomei, who acted as if everything in the compound belonged to her, even guarding the vegetable garden fiercely. You're all being too harsh on Sister Xiaomei. It wasn't your grain she used. Why gang up on her like this? Yang Jiedi was loyal to Hu Xiaomei. They had met on the train and had been close ever since. You're just her lapdog. She gives you small favors, and you defend her no matter what. Bitterness filled Wang Dia's eyes. Both of them came from families that valued sons over daughters, yet Yang Jiedi always seemed to fare better. Say that again, and I'll tear your mouth open. Yang Jiedi rolled up her sleeves, ready to fight. I'm just speaking my mind. Can't I talk? Seeing how much taller Yang Jiedi was, Wang Dia backed down. Losing a fight would make her the laughingstock of the village. Enough, both of you. Hu Xiaomei, you were in the wrong. Just make up for the grain, and we can let this go. Chen Yinghua stepped forward as peacemaker. She did not realize her idea of fairness had deeply offended Hu Xiaomei. I won't make up for it. It was my grain. Mind your own business. Hu Xiaomei glanced at the male-educated youths standing in the background. They were so calm and selfish. Well, look at everyone gathered here. What sort of opera is this? Li Qinglan walked into the main hall of the front yard. Almost all the front yard-educated youths were present, except for Qin Jingxi and her brother. Educated youth Li, perfect timing. You ate pancakes Hu Xiaomei made yesterday. You ought to give the grain back. Seeing Li Qinglan, Lu Zhenhua pushed his way to the front. Lu Zhenhua, was that any of your concern? Li Qinglan had no patience for him, a man who lived off others' kindness. All of us in the front yard pool our grain. If you ate Hu Xiaomei's grain, you ate mine too. Lu Zhenhua sounded completely self-assured. Have you no shame? You earn fewer work points than Hu Xiaomei. Following your logic, should you hand over all your private money for everyone to share? Li Qinglan shot him a scornful look. Only Hu Xiaomei's foolishness had made her share grain with them in the first place. That's different. That's my hard-earned money. Why would I give it away? Lu Zhenhua panicked. That money had been coaxed out of Chen Yimei. He would never hand it over. There you go. Hu Xiaomei was kind enough to share her allocated grain. Now she uses a little extra, and you accuse her of stealing. Where's your conscience? Li Qinglan had never intended to eat Hu Xiaomei's food for free, but seeing how unfairly Hu Xiaomei was being treated, she could not stay silent. But she did give grain to you people. Shouldn't you pay us back? Chen Yinghua frowned, displeased that Li Qinglan was taking Hu Xiaomei's side. If we owe grain, we owe it to Hu Xiaomei, not you. Are you trying to treat Hu Xiaomei's belongings as your own? Li Qinglan gave Chen Yinghua a cold stare and leaned in to whisper the last sentence right beside her ear. You're lying. I'm not. Chen Yinghua's secret thought had been exposed. She flushed with anger, pointing at Li Qinglan, too furious to speak. This quarrel is none of my business normally, but you have gone too far. Hu Xiaomei only made those pancakes because we got back late last night. Yet you treat her as if she has committed some terrible crime. Li Qinglan glanced at Chen Yinghua. She suspected the compound leader was behind much of this conflict. This incident has shown me your true colors. I will stay here a little longer. Once we receive our grain allocation after public grain is turned in, I am moving out. Hu Xiaomei had had enough. She worked hard and earned more grain than she could eat. She did not need to live with others and endure their bad tempers. Hu Xiaomei, don't act as if we have been taking advantage of you. Chen Yinghua slammed her palm on the table and stood up, glaring. You know full well whether you have taken advantage of me. From now on, I will not eat with the group. Hu Xiaomei had indeed used a small amount of shared compound grain. She had intended to replace it today, but she had been cornered as soon as she returned from the mountains. Calm down, Xiaomei. Yang Zhaidi hurried over to mediate. Don't try to persuade me, Zhaidi. My mind is made up. Hu Xiaomei pulled free from Yang Zhaidi's grasp and went back to her room, leaving everyone else standing there stunned. Seeing the conflict come to a standstill, Li Qinglan left the front yard. Truly, accepting free food from others only brought trouble. That evening, when Feng Lily and Qin Lijun returned, Li Qinglan told them what had happened. What? I knew we shouldn't have eaten Hu Xiaomei's food. Look what trouble it's caused. Feng Lily was annoyed. There weren't even many pancakes. Was all this fighting really necessary? We can just give them back some coarse grain. Qin Lijun wrinkled her brow, confused by the uproar. You can say that because you have enough grain. The girls in the front yard are not so fortunate. They have little strength and earn few work points. Their grain rations run out long before spring. Hu Xiaomei works hard and earns plenty. Even if they had not quarreled today, a falling out would have been inevitable. No one wants to keep losing out forever. Hu Xiaomei endured it before for fear of being excluded. Now there are new educated youths living separately in the backyard, and she knows she can move there too. That makes sense. We're lucky we never joined the old educated youths for shared meals. Otherwise, we would have ended up the ones losing out. Feng Lily also felt a sense of relief. She was glad she had not taken the older, educated youth up on their offer to dine with them. Otherwise, she would be the one suffering losses now. The older educated youth caused too many problems. We really ought to keep our distance from them. As for Hu Xiaomei's grain, I will return it to her in a while. Qin Lijun disliked trouble and hated owing others favors. Even though she herself had not eaten the pancakes the day before, Gu Qinghuai, Wang Jiwei, and the others had. It's fine. There is no rush about the grain. Let's wait until they sort out their quarrel. Actually, I hope Hu Xiaomei can stand up for herself. Otherwise, she will truly end up as the maid for everyone at the educated youth compound. Li Qinglan looked down on most of the educated youth in the front yard, especially Lu Zhenghua and Qin Yinghua. They were both selfish people who only cared about their own interests and never considered other people's feelings. Sister Qinglan, I get the feeling you are quite fond of Hu Xiaomei. You keep defending her and speaking up for her. Feng Lily felt a twinge of jealousy. She had such a close bond with Sister Qinglan, yet Qinglan had never stood up for her like this. It's not exactly defending her. I am just judging things fairly. Besides, Hu Xiaomei is not a bad person. You just hold preconceptions against her. Li Qinglan could not say she liked Hu Xiaomei, she simply did not dislike her. Some people seemed sharp-tongued and hard to get along with on the surface, yet possessed kind hearts underneath. Others appeared amiable, but harbored malice deep inside. They could only see outward appearances, never what lay in people's hearts. Hu Xiaomei is extremely capable. I really admire her. Even though we have quarreled several times in the past, I do not actually dislike her. Qin Lijun was not as naive as Feng Lily. Having experienced more of life, she understood that the world was not simply black and white. Hu Xiaomei had a bad temper, yet the other educated youth in the front yard put up with it precisely because she was so competent. She earned her full work points every single day. After finishing work in the fields, she still tended the vegetable garden so neatly. Most of the meals at the educated youth compound were cooked by Hu Xiaomei. Naturally, the others at the compound were willing to indulge such a capable girl. That's true. Some people look kind on the surface yet are full of wicked schemes. Feng Lily, try to avoid mixing with the educated youth in the front yard, or you might get manipulated. Li Qinglan had read the novel. Right now the compound was peaceful only because no conflicts of interest had arisen. When the city return quotas were issued next spring, there would be plenty of turmoil among the educated youth. I know. I seldom go to the front yard. Wang Jiwei always accompanies me when I fetch water. Feng Lily was obedient. Apart from spending time with Li Qinglan, she barely interacted even with Wang Jiwei and the others. The autumn harvest ahead will be exhausting, so prepare yourself mentally. Corn is the main crop planted in our village. Once the corn harvest is over, the weather will turn cold. You need to stock up firewood and warm winter clothes. Li Qinglan offered the reminder casually. If they chose not to heed her warning, there was nothing more she could do. I have enough coal briquettes for winter. Later I will buy some firewood from Aunt Wang for cooking. Foam Lily had made preparations long ago and felt no fear of freezing in winter. You had better collect firewood from the mountains yourself. I'm afraid someone might grow envious and report you, which would land you in trouble. You do not need much firewood for cooking, so gather it bit by bit. Li Qinglan sighed to herself. She should not have softened her heart. Lily, can I talk to you about something? Would it be all right if I stayed with you through the cold winter months? You know I brought very little money when I came to the countryside. If I spend money on coal this year, I will have none left for next year. Qin Lijun knew her request was asking a lot. Still, if Foam Lily turned her away, she would have no choice but to beg Gu Qinghuai. Foam Lily felt torn. She had moved out precisely after falling out with Qin Lijun. Moving back in together now would be humiliating. Yet Qin Lijun had saved her life only the day before, so she could hardly refuse. After some thought, she nodded. Very well. But only for the cold winter. Once the weather warms up, you have to move back out. All right, no problem. Thank you so much, Lily. Qin Lijun had once thought living separately from Foam Lily was for the best, but now she saw things differently. When Foam Lily had lived with her, there had been someone to lend a hand while cooking. Now cooking alone left her swamped. Li Qinglan paid them no further mind, so long as they stayed out of danger. She stayed indoors that afternoon, spreading hazelnuts out to dry. Between yesterday and today, she had gathered nearly 300 jean of hazelnuts in total. Her drying racks were piled high with them. The dense sight filled her with a sense of accomplishment. A little past 4 in the afternoon, Zhang Guilan quietly carried a basket to the door of Li Qinglan's dormitory. Comradely, I've brought you some food. Group leader, you finished making it so soon. Li Qinglan had expected to wait until dark and had not thought it would arrive this early. I set about cooking it as soon as I got home. Taste it and tell me what you think. There are also 2 jean of vermicelli in the basket. You can stew dishes with it someday. If you like it, I will make more this year. Zhang Guilan handed over the basket. Inside lay not only chicken stewed with mushrooms, but also vermicelli and dried vegetables. Thank you, group leader. With your fine cooking, I am sure I will love the vermicelli. When you make vermicelli later, please let me know. I want to learn how to make it myself. Rather than constantly asking others for help, she preferred to master the skill so she could make it whenever she wanted. Li Qinglan had confidence in her practical skills. She believed she could learn to make vermicelli. Of course. Besides vermicelli, I know how to coagulate tofu and brew soybean paste. I can teach you all of those if you wish. People in northeast China loved dipping vegetables in sauce, and soybean paste was indispensable. That would be wonderful. I heard from Aunt Wang that your soybean paste is the most fragrant in Dave Village. I have long wanted to try it. Li Qinglan actually preferred light, flavored food and disliked overly salty dishes, but she could not bear to turn down Zhang Guilan's warm hospitality. Oh, that is just Aunt Wang talking. Her soybean paste and pickled Chinese cabbage are truly delicious. Praise put Zhang Guilan in high spirits. She even began wondering if her cooking was really as good as Li Qinglan claimed. You two are the most capable women in Dade Village. I will argue with anyone who says otherwise. Whoever marries into your families will be so fortunate, enjoying good home, cooked meals every day. I truly envy that kind of life. You certainly know how to flatter people. I must head home now, or your compliments will make my head swell. Keep this basket, you can use it to carry vegetables and meals. With that, Zhang Guilan waved goodbye. She had suddenly remembered leaving her kitchen unlocked when she went out. She needed to hurry back, or her young grandsons would eat everything in the kitchen. Once Zhang Guilan left, Li Qinglan went inside to eat. At noon she had only eaten 2 steamed buns, and now she was quite hungry. She set the vermicelli and dried vegetables into her cupboard. The woven bamboo basket was beautifully crafted, obviously made by Zhang Guilan herself. Li Qinglan had badly needed a basket, so she would no longer have to carry food directly in a metal lunchbox out to the fields. Zhang Guilan was truly thoughtful. Though the basket itself was worth little, the kindness behind it meant a great deal. Li Qinglan had just set out the chicken and mushroom stew when someone knocked at her door. From the sound of the knocks, she already knew who it was. She opened the door, and sure enough, Foam Lily stood outside. Hee hee, Sister Qinglan, I can smell meat. Foam Lily, have you got a dog's nose? Every time I cook something nice, you turn up right on cue. Honestly. Li Qinglan stepped aside reluctantly and let Foam Lily in. Don't be stingy, Sister Qinglan. Tomorrow I will bring you cured pork, and we can fry it with dried bamboo shoots for supper. Foam Lily knew Li Qinglan was gruff yet soft-hearted and would let her share the meal. You cannot even cook it yourself. I would have to do all the work. You lazy girl, always dropping by for free meals. Li Qinglan rolled her eyes. She did not know what to do with Foam Lily, who asked for food so unabashedly. It is only because your cooking is so good. My own cooking tastes terrible, and I would hate for you to have to eat it. Foam Lily grinned shamelessly and sat down at the table. I did not make much food today. You just cooked dough drop soup, so go bring your bowl over. Li Qinglan was not being petty. She only had 2 steamed buns left in her pot. They could hardly split one apiece. Wait for me, I will fetch my soup right away. Foam Lily hurried out as if afraid Li Qinglan might change her mind. After supper, Foam Lily patted her full stomach and went contentedly back to her room. The chicken and mushroom stew had been so tasty that she had overeaten. Li Qinglan had no time to relax. After eating, she carried water to water her vegetable plot. Her garden thrived, with lush green seedlings growing well. Comradely, your vegetables are growing wonderfully. You will have plenty to eat through the winter. Qin Lijun had finished her meal and came back just as Li Qinglan tended the garden. Hoping to win favor, she walked over to greet her. They're all right. There is an empty patch in the corner. You two could clear it and plant vegetables next spring. Li Qinglan had intentionally left that plot spare when she opened up her garden. Thank you for saving us such a nice piece of land. It is too late this year, but next spring I will tend it carefully. I hate buying vegetables from others and having to put up with their attitudes. If there had been more time, Qin Lijun would have started clearing the land right then. When they first arrived in the countryside, none of them had known they ought to grow their own vegetables. It is too late to plant anything this year, but you can buy vegetables from villagers. The cold winter lasts a long time here. Stock up on food well, or you will go hungry. Li Qinglan offered the reminder only because they had come to the countryside together as educated youth. If their food ran short, as their neighbor she could not stand by and watch them starve. I had no idea how much we needed to prepare for winter. I thought grain alone would be enough. Qin Lijun usually kept to herself. The village women rarely talked to her, so she knew nothing about winter preparations. As for Gu Qinghuai and the other 2 young men, they acted like spoiled young masters. They only worked in the fields to earn work points and never helped with household chores after returning home. 4 of you will need roughly 600 jin of Chinese cabbage and 400 jin of turnips. You also need firewood, warm winter clothing, and grain. Li Qinglan had never lived in northeast China herself. She had learned this from Aunt Wang Er. 600 jin of cabbage and 400 jin of turnips? Could we possibly eat all that? You could. Winter lasts nearly 4 months, and that amount might not even be enough. You can pickle 200 jin of cabbage and preserve some of the turnips as sour pickles or dried turnips. Li Qinglan intended to follow local customs and make plenty of pickled cabbage, sour turnips, and dried turnips. She also planned to grow chives and garlic sprouts in broken basins set in the corner of her room, so she would not grow tired of eating only cabbage and turnips day after day. But I do not know how to make any of those things. Could you teach me? Qin Lijun looked at Li Qinglan hopefully, placing all her hopes on her. I do not know how either. You could take something to ask Aunt Wang Er for help. Her pickled cabbage and soybean paste taste excellent. Li Qinglan wanted to give Aunt Wang Er the opportunity to earn something. Unlike Zhang Guilan, Aunt Wang Er was warm-hearted yet fond of small gains. She would readily help in exchange for goods. Zhang Guilan, by contrast, valued personal liking. She would avoid people she disliked and might refuse help even for money. I will go discuss this with the others. Thank you, comradely. Qin Lijun was grateful. Though Li Qinglan was often reserved, she could always be relied on in real trouble. Do not mention it. It is getting dark. Go wash up and rest. Li Qinglan had finished watering her vegetables. She waited for Qin Lijun to leave so she could use her wood-based special ability to boost growth. You rest early too. See you tomorrow. Early the next morning, whistles from the threshing ground woke Li Qinglan. By the 3rd whistle, crowds had lined up on the threshing ground. Corn harvesting work began that day, and everyone gathered for a meeting to assign tasks. Once lines were formed, Brigade Commander Jiang Dajuan began speaking. Ahem, listen up, everyone. I am Brigade Commander Jiang Dajuan. Without loudspeakers in the village, he shouted to make himself heard. Today we start harvesting corn. Once the corn is in, the autumn harvest will near its end. Work hard for a while longer. After we deliver the public grain, we will distribute grain to every household. Work assignments are as follows. Groups 1 and 2 will carry corn. Groups 3, 4, and 5 will pluck corn cobs. Group 6 will spread corn out to dry. That is all. Group leaders, take your teams to your assigned fields. The brigade commander was quick, witted, and finished giving instructions in a few short sentences. Li Qinglan's task was transporting corn. She needed to carry corn plucked by Group 4 workers over to the main road, where tractors would collect it. 30 people in Group 4 plucked corn, yet only 3 workers were assigned to carry it. Her fellow porters were Aunt Wang Er's 2 sons, Wang Dajuan and Wang Erjuan. All 3 earned 15 work points. Each of them had to carry corn plucked by 10 field workers. Work was light at first, but grew busy after half an hour. Even with her great strength, Li Qinglan found the work exhausting by day's end. By afternoon her legs trembled, and the muscles across her shoulders ached badly. Fortunately, Wang Dajuan and Wang Erjuan were generous. Seeing her struggling, they frequently stepped in to help carry loads. When she got back to the educated youth compound, Li Qinglan collapsed onto her heated brick bed, too worn out to move. She was half asleep when someone knocked on her door. Frowning with irritation, she called out, "Who is it?" "I am exhausted. Come back tomorrow if you have business." "Comradely, it is me. I cooked extra dough drop soup tonight. Seeing how worn out you were after work, I brought you a bowl." Jin Lijun had run into Li Qinglan after work and noticed how thoroughly drained she looked, so she had made an extra large bowl of soup. Li Qinglan was surprised. She had not expected Jin Lijun to bring her food. Unable to turn down such kindness, she got up and opened the door. "Thank you, Comrade Chen." She took the bowl and expressed her gratitude. "You're welcome. Eat it while it is hot, then get some rest." Jin Lijun smiled. She only wished to repay Li Qinglan for her helpful advice of the previous day. "I will not stand on ceremony. Wait a moment, and I will return your bowl." Li Qinglan picked up the bowl and drank every drop of the soup. The soup was thin and slightly burnt, yet it warmed her heart. After finishing it, she felt much better. She had carried dozens, loads back and forth across the fields dozens of times throughout the day. Her legs felt heavy as lead. Once Jin Lijun left, Li Qinglan sat cross-legged on her brick bed and used her wood-based special ability to restore her body. She had been so tired that she had completely forgotten about her power. As the ability soothed her, all her aches faded away. Only then did she realize how hungry she was. The soup had already been digested. Too tired to cook, she took 2 steamed buns out of her personal storage space. Some leftover pork bone stew with pickled cabbage went well with them to fill her stomach. After eating, she fetched cold water for a quick wash. Night temperatures dropped fast, and washing in cold water risked catching a chill. She poured all hot water from her thermos into her bucket. There was not enough for a proper bath, but it would have to do. She went to bed early and woke before dawn. Her work field lay far from the compound, so she needed to bring lunch with her. She made sugar-sweetened corn flatbreads for easy carrying. She packed chrysanthemum seed tea as well. Fearing heat stroke under the hot sun, she also brewed mung bean soup. Time ran short before she had to leave for work, so the soup had not finished boiling. She decided to ask Chen Lijun to watch the stove. "Comrade Chen, could you keep an eye on my stove? I am boiling mung bean soup. Save 1 large bowl for me, and you may share the rest among yourselves." She referred to her large serving bowl, which held exactly 1 portion for herself. "Of course. We will not drink your soup, though. I will chill it down the well. Wang Jiwei can bring it out to you in the fields at noon." Chen Lijun genuinely wanted to build a good relationship with Li Qinglan. Being neighbors, they could look out for one another when troubles arose in the future. "It's nothing. I made too much. Have some later and make sure Lily drinks some too. It's sweltering these days, and heat stroke is easy to come by. Mung bean soup is perfect for cooling off." "All right, I won't stand on ceremony." "Thank you, Sister Qinglan." "You're welcome. We're all educated youth. Helping each other is only right. It's getting late. I need to get off to work. Let's chat some other time." With that, Li Qinglan slung her carrying basket over her back and hurried out the door. If she showed up late, piles of corn would be waiting for her to carry. A busy day had begun. Li Qinglan had learned her lesson. While hauling corn, she secretly used her special ability to lighten part of its weight. Her shoulders ached far less, and she moved with much lighter steps. She ate lunch in a cool spot by the roadside, 2 corn cakes plus a bowl of mung bean soup Wang Jiwei had brought her. After eating, she found a place to doze for a while to recharge her energy for the afternoon's labor. The day slipped by quickly. Dragging her exhausted body back to the educated youth compound, Li Qinglan was greeted by Chen Lijun, who brought her a bowl of noodles. "Comrade Li, eat this while it's hot, or the noodles will turn mushy." "Thank you, Comrade Chen. Give me a moment, and I'll return your bowl." Li Qinglan carried the noodles into her room and poured them into a clean bowl. Next, she washed and wiped the used bowl dry, then scooped a bowl full of flour from the flour jar. She held it out to Chen Lijun, who tried to refuse. In the end, Li Qinglan forced it into her hands. Li Qinglan had eaten food provided by others 2 days running. She could not live with herself if she failed to pay them back. She now understood the appeal of having a hot meal ready upon returning home. No wonder the educated youths in the compound ate together. Cooking from scratch every single day after finishing work would be utterly draining. For the rest of the autumn harvest, Chen Lijun took care of Li Qinglan's evening meals. Li Qinglan was not stingy. She brought Chen Lijun 2 cured hams, a basket of eggs, plus some grain and vegetables from her own rations. She made sure the repayment was fair. The month-long autumn harvest flew by. Everyone was worn out, and the older educated youths had no energy left to stir up trouble. Once the harvest ended, most villagers and educated youths got time off. Only those assigned to dry the grain had to work a few more days. Li Qinglan started taking Feng Lily, Wang Jiwei, and the others up the mountain to collect firewood. The hard work of the harvest had drawn them closer. To gather firewood faster, she led them toward the outer fringes of the deep mountains. Few people ventured there, and dead fallen trees abounded. Li Qinglan was excellent at climbing trees. She scrambled up and chopped off branches. Wang Jiwei and Li Nan climbed up after her. Only Gu Qinghuai and Feng Lily stayed on the ground to gather what fell. Feng Lily picked up branches chopped down by Wang Jiwei and Li Nan, while Gu Qinghuai had to search elsewhere. The deep mountains held far more danger. Gu Qinghuai did not wander off, staying close to the group to collect fallen branches. They kept working until noon before stopping. Li Qinglan was strong and chopped branches at a terrific pace. Neither Li Nan nor Wang Jiwei could keep up with her. When it was time to head down the mountain, Li Qinglan stared in shock at her towering pile of firewood. Had she really been that productive? Her haul was nearly as large as what the other 4 had gathered together. Chopping had felt effortless, but hauling it downhill would be difficult. "Comrade Li, how are you going to get all that firewood down?" "I could stay and guard it while you make several trips to carry it down," Wang Jiwei said. He looked on with envy. He wished he could be so capable. When he first arrived in the countryside, he had relied on his martial arts skills and looked down on the others in the compound. Seeing Li Qinglan haul corn these past days had shattered his pride. "No need. I'll bind everything with vine ropes and drag the whole bundle downhill. Vines would make it easier for her to use her special ability." "Will that really work?" Wang Jiwei eyed the huge pile doubtfully. "Dragging so much firewood downhill was no small feat, it will. You all have quite a lot too. Split yours into 3 bundles for the descent." Noticing Feng Lily's slight build, Li Qinglan did not assign her heavy dragging work. "All right, let's try. We have 16 bundles of firewood. Split 3 ways, each of us would still have 5 bundles to drag," Gu Qinghuai frowned. If he had known they would have to haul everything down at once, they would not have gathered so much. 5 bundles are manageable. Comrade Li has far more than us, and she is not complaining. Wang Jiwei grew annoyed at Gu Qinghuai's complaining. With so many people in their group, they needed plenty of firewood. Moreover, because of his falling out with Feng Lily, their pre-ordered 5 tons of coal had fallen through. Without enough firewood, they would freeze through the winter. "Exactly. Gu Qinghuai, you're a grown man. You cannot even match Sister Qinglan's strength, yet you keep grumbling. You wandered around doing almost nothing while we collected firewood just now." Feng Lily had lost all patience with Gu Qinghuai. In her eyes, he was useless. She admitted she had once been foolish enough to take a fancy to such a lazy, incompetent man. "Feng Lily, can you stop insulting me? I have put up with you long enough. Keep provoking me and you will regret it." Gu Qinghuai burned with rage. He glared furiously at her. He would have resorted to violence if outsiders had not been present. "Teach me a lesson? You are hardly qualified. A good for nothing who lives off others. What could you possibly do?" Feng Lily scoffed. She despised men who bullied those around them but dared not face real challenges. She thought he ought to try picking a fight with Li Qinglan instead. She would put him in his place. You, Feng Lily, mark my words, Gu Qinghuai turned to storm downhill. Before he could get far, Li Qinglan could no longer stand by. Hey there, young Master Gu. Could you at least drag your share of firewood down before throwing a tantrum? I already have more than enough firewood to handle. Why put on the show for us? That's right. Take your firewood with you before you leave. Do not walk off and leave work undone, Feng Lily cheered as Li Qinglan spoke up for her. I cannot be bothered to argue with you two girls. Jiwei, Li Nan, you deal with the firewood. I am going back to rest, Gu Qinghuai snorted at Feng Lily and ordered the other two to take care of the bundles. Wait, Gu Qinghuai. Even with 3 of us we might barely manage. If you leave, only 2 of us will never get it all down, Li Nan panicked. They could not afford one person abandoning the work halfway. We will have to handle it ourselves then, Wang Jiwei sighed. He could not believe his bad luck being paired with Gu Qinghuai. I will help you too. I will drag a smaller portion, and you two take the heavier ones. Feng Lily was not shameless enough to desert like Gu Qinghuai. Li Qinglan shook her head watching Gu Qinghuai walk away. Self-centered people like him had somehow ended up as the male lead in that novel. The author must have lacked good judgment. Li Qinglan's plan worked. She gathered plenty of vines to tie her firewood tightly so it would not fall apart while being dragged downhill. When the vines were too short, she secretly urged them to grow with her wood, Element's special ability. Otherwise, she could never have bound such a huge pile. She split Wang Jiwei's group's firewood into 3 bundles. Feng Lily, who had little strength, got only 2 bundles. Wang Jiwei and Li Nan divided the rest between them. They had enough strength to drag their loads, though it was hard going. Their procession caught the villagers' eyes as they descended. Everyone gaped in astonishment seeing Li Qinglan haul her massive bundle. How could one woman possess such strength? Dragging that much firewood at once was astonishing. Li Qinglan paid no mind to their stares and kept walking forward. Back at the educated youth compound, the older youths in the front yard stared in stunned silence. Comrade Li, did you drag all this firewood back by yourself? Chen Yinghua rubbed her eyes, hardly believing what she saw. That mountain of firewood had been moved single-handedly by Li Qinglan. Yes. Could you please step aside? The others are coming behind me. Li Qinglan needed to get her firewood to her dormitory doorway and clear the path for Feng Lily and the rest. Her huge pile blocked the whole passage. Chen Yinghua awkwardly stepped back, caught off guard by her plain-spoken reply and lost for words. Hu Xiaomei giggled, pleased to see Chen Yinghua put in her place. Li Qinglan ignored their petty squabbles. She was far too busy stowing her firewood. Her wood shed was now completely full. From now on, any extra firewood would have to be stacked in the bamboo grove out back. Feng Lily and the others stored their firewood in the front yard storage shed. They cooked in the shared kitchen, so keeping firewood there was convenient. After lunch, Li Qinglan set off up the mountain again with Feng Lily and the others. Gu Qinghuai did not come along. Li Qinglan asked no questions. He contributed almost nothing even when he did show up. This time she took them to a different spot, further from the village. Sister Qinglan, why are we not going back to this morning's spot? There are still plenty of branches there, Feng Lily wondered. The trees here grow thicker and there are more dead trees. Li Qinglan had come for dead timber. Collecting loose branches would not justify traveling so far. Comrade Li, we really owe you. You would not have to slog up the mountain gathering firewood if not for us. We are useless and cannot even find good firewood spots on our own, Wang Jiwei spoke with genuine gratitude. Without Li Qinglan, they would face a freezing winter. You ought to thank Lily and Qin Lijun. They helped me a great deal through the autumn harvest. Li Qinglan believed in returning kindness shown to her. Wang Jiwei, you should thank me. If I had not become close to Sister Qinglan, she would never have brought us up here. Feng Lily stepped in front of Wang Jiwei, chin tilted high in obvious pride. Wang Jiwei fell silent. They walked for another half-hour until they reached a pine forest. Numerous pine nuts grew on the trees. It was the perfect season for picking them. Squirrels hopped from branch to branch overhead. Spotting the pine nuts, Li Qinglan temporarily forgot about chopping dead wood. Grabbing a stick, she climbed a tree and knocked the nuts loose. Wang Jiwei and Li Nan tried to climb after her, but the pine trees were too tall. After 2 failed attempts, they gave up. Li Qinglan climbed down after knocking down a fair number of nuts. She could not rely on her special ability with others watching. Comrade Li, why are you coming down? There are still plenty of pine nuts up top. Wang Jiwei was surprised she had stopped so soon. Our main task today is gathering firewood. We only need a few pine nuts for eating. We can come back another day to collect more. Li Qinglan made up an excuse rather than admit she had grown tired of the work. We brought no proper tools today, so picking pine nuts is awkward. Another day we can bring long bamboo poles and knock them down from the ground. Wang Jiwei studied the tall trees and agreed that was their best option. Pine nuts fetch a decent price, but yields are low and harvesting them is hard. If you want extra income, gathering hazelnuts up the mountain makes more sense. With her wood element ability, Li Qinglan could gather either easily. We only want some to eat. We do not have time to gather for sale. Our work point earnings are low, and we still lack enough firewood. We worry whether we can stock up sufficient supplies before winter sets in. Li Nan felt uncertain about the future. He had no idea how long they would have to stay in the countryside. He had once hoped to rely on Gu Qinghuai and Feng Lily to get back to the city. Now Gu Qinghuai and Feng Lily were on bad terms, Feng's family situation was unclear, and Gu Qinghuai offered no real support. It is all Gu Qinghuai's fault. If he did not slack off constantly, we would be making much better progress. Feng Lily regretted agreeing to share meals with the group. She would have driven Gu Qinghuai out to fend for himself if not for Chen Lijun's sake. That is just how Qinghuai is. Lily, try not to take it to heart. When we buy coal, we can make him pay a larger share. The peace-loving Wang Jiwei tried to smooth things over. He was on decent terms with Gu Qinghuai and would not take sides openly. I want nothing to do with him. He is worse than a young girl and has no prospects, Feng Lily said dismissively. Lily, keep your voice down. If Qinghuai hears you, you two will start fighting again. Li Nan sighed. He and Wang Jiwei were caught in the middle, unable to offend either side and forced to play mediators. All right, look over there. There is a large dead tree. Go chop it down quickly. Li Qinglan steered the conversation away from their quarrel. She had no wish to get tangled up in their personal conflicts. Feng Lily perked up at the mention of dead wood. She spotted a lightning, struck tree half, fallen to the ground, the other half still standing. Excited, she ran toward it, with Wang Jiwei and Li Nan close behind. Li Qinglan headed 200 meters in the opposite direction and stopped beneath a dead walnut tree, also killed by lightning. Tall with thick branches, it had been struck during a storm. She took out a saw and cut the tree down, sawing the trunk into 2-meter-long sections. That length was ideal for dragging downhill. Too long and it would not turn corners easily, too short and the bundles would not hold together. She kept all the dry branches. While the others were distracted, she quietly stored them inside her spatial storage. She sawed down 5 or 6 more dead trees before stopping. Once again, she used fine ropes to bind the timber into a large compact bundle. She was satisfied. Once she dragged this downhill, she would have more than enough firewood for the whole winter. Meanwhile, Feng Lily's group had also done well. They had cut down 7 or 8 trees. Only one was large, the rest were slender trunks roughly thigh-thick. Lily, Wang Jiwei, how much have you got? Ready to head back? Li Qinglan dragged her huge timber bundle to the cross path and called toward them. Sister Qinglan, we are not finished yet. Feng Lily grew anxious seeing Li Qinglan ready to leave. Take your time. I am going to check for pheasants over there. Li Qinglan heard pheasant calls and walked toward the sound. Sure enough, 5 pheasants were foraging in grass on a sloped hillside. Charging straight at them would risk tumbling down the incline. She would have to use her special ability. Without it, catching them would be impossible. Li Qinglan waved her hand, and a vine sprouted forth. She guided it slowly toward the birds and wrapped it tightly around them. All 5 were trapped, none escaped. The pheasants were plump. They would taste wonderful braised with potatoes or mushrooms. She put 3 away into her spatial storage. The remaining 2 she tied with vines and placed in her carrying basket. Returning to the wood, stacking spot, Feng Lily and the others were already waiting for her, carrying logs on their shoulders. Qinglan, you're finally back. If you'd taken any longer, my shoulders would have given out. Feng Lily rubbed her shoulders, her face twisted with pain. You could have set them down to wait for me. There was no need to keep carrying them. Is all the wood you just cut here? We aren't going back up the mountain once we head home. If we leave any behind, I'm worried someone else might take it. Li Qinglan shot a doubtful glance at the logs on their shoulders. They had been working for quite a while, and there ought to be far more wood than this. There are 2 thicker logs over there. We aren't as strong as you, and we can barely lift them. Wang Jiwei had tried a moment earlier. He could only carry one of those thick logs at a time. How about this? I'll wait here for a bit. The 3 of you head down to the foot of the mountain, set the logs down, then come back up for another trip. Li Qinglan was also hauling a large load of wood. Without her special abilities, even two versions of herself would have struggled to carry so much. Sounds fine. This spot is on a slope. Comrade Li, could you hurl those two thick logs down the hillside for me later? Wang Jiwei had no wish to leave the wood unattended. If it got stolen, there would be nothing he could do. All right. Hurry down the mountain. I'll toss the logs down once you're well out of the way. Li Qinglan nodded. Those two logs looked bulky, but they posed no real trouble for her. Got it. We're off. Be careful and head down soon yourself. Wang Jiwei was concerned about wild boars in the mountains. Though they had not ventured deep into the wilderness, they were not far from it. Few people came to gather firewood here, and the woods felt eerily quiet. After Wang Jiwei and the others departed, Li Qinglan used her powers to send their logs tumbling down the slope. Next, she dragged her own huge pile of wood downhill with her abilities. The forest grew dim in the afternoon, and strange bird calls echoed from time to time. Shortly after Li Qinglan got back to the educated youth compound, Wang Jiwei and the rest arrived as well. They had carried the logs part of the way, and once they reached the main path at the mountain foot, they copied Li Qinglan's trick. They gathered damp branches from dead trees and dragged the timber along the ground. Reaching the doorway of her room, Feng Lily sank to the ground, too exhausted to take another step. Most of her work at the collective farm had been half-hearted labor. This was the first time she had pushed herself so hard. Lily, get up. Sitting straight on the ground like that, and your legs will ache terribly tomorrow. Li Qinglan stepped forward and pulled her to her feet, looking out for her friend. After climbing mountains, one ought not sit directly on cold ground, or severe muscle soreness would follow the next day. I truly cannot move. My legs are shaking. Feng Lily longed only to flop onto her bed. All the trekking up and down the mountain today had left her worn out. Have Chen Lijun heat some water for you to soak your feet tonight, or you might not even be able to get out of bed tomorrow. Li Qinglan could already picture how miserable Feng Lily would feel the next morning. Still, she had performed surprisingly well today. Tired as she was, she had stuck it out until the work was finished, far better than Gu Qinghuai, who only knew how to take advantage of others. Qinglan, you're so good to me. Why didn't my parents give me an elder sister? If only I had someone like you for a sister. Don't wish for that. If you really had an elder sister, you might not be so favored at home. Li Qinglan was not trying to be cruel. In families with multiple daughters, favor could easily shift to someone else. Qinglan, you are so discouraging. Couldn't you just humor me a little? Feng Lily stared at her plaintively. Li Qinglan's words had completely spoiled her nice daydream about having an elder sister. Enough. Go check if there is hot water in the front yard. Wash up and rest. You are covered in dirt from the mountain. Can you smell how grubby you are? Li Qinglan turned her attention away from Feng Lily. She still had a large pile of wood to sort out and had no spare time to fuss over her. I'm going right now. Should I boil more water for you? You'll need hot water to pluck the pheasant in your basket. Feng Lily had noticed the pheasant in Li Qinglan's basket earlier, but had not felt right asking about it. No need. I'll boil my own water. Go tell Chen Lijun to bring her meal over to my place tonight. We're having potato, braised pheasant. Li Qinglan had no intention of sending any of the pheasant over to Feng Lily's quarters. She was not about to let the selfish Gu Qinghuai get a free meal. Got it. I'll fetch Chen Lijun right away and tell her to make sweet potato rice. Ever since making up with Chen Lijun, Feng Lily had given up trying to learn how to cook. The firewood they had brought back needed to be sawn into short lengths before being split with an axe. There was no time for that today, so she stacked the logs aside to handle tomorrow. Only after unloading the wood did Li Qinglan get around to boiling water to prepare the pheasant. She had barely put the bird into the pot when Chen Lijun and Feng Lily arrived carrying their food bowls. Qinglan, is the potato, braised pheasant ready yet? Feng Lily rushed inside and lifted the pot lid. Seeing the meat was still undercooked, she closed it again in disappointment. What's your hurry? Give me a little more time. It will be done soon. Li Qinglan had lost time hauling wood, so cooking had run late. Qinglan, it smells amazing. My mouth is watering. Feng Lily swallowed hard, looking utterly eager. Eat plenty then. I added lots of potatoes, so there is more than enough to fill everyone up. Li Qinglan had put both of the pheasants she had openly brought back into the pot. She was afraid the portion would be too small otherwise. You worked so hard today, bringing back all that firewood, Chen Lijun said. She had been working out in the threshing ground and had not gone up the mountain with them. She had seen them return and could scarcely believe her eyes. She had never imagined one person could drag home such a huge mound of wood. It was manageable. Lily did well too. She kept up the whole time up and down the mountain and rarely complained. Li Qinglan meant every word of her praise. Feng Lily's work still paled beside that of local village girls. But she was making real progress. Compared to the pampered young lady who had first arrived, she had improved greatly. I saw Gu Qinghui back at the dorm this afternoon. Didn't he go up the mountain with you? Chen Lijun had tried asking him, but he had said nothing and stormed back to his room. Don't mention him. He did practically nothing up the mountain this morning and even flew into a temper at us. Feng Lily held a strong grudge against him and grew angry just thinking about it. What? Why did he lose his temper? Chen Lijun frowned. In her impression, Gu Qinghui had always seemed mild-mannered. I have no idea. He blew up for no obvious reason. I suspect he was just making excuses to avoid working. Feng Lily pursed her lips, clearly displeased. Her opinion of Gu Qinghui had steadily worsened since they came to the countryside. She wondered how she had ever taken a fancy to someone like him. I truly cannot say what set him off. He barely lifted a finger all morning and just dawdled. Li Qinglan spread her hands, looking genuinely confused. Gu Qinghui was spoiled by his family. Don't take his behavior to heart, Chen Lijun said. Her fondness for him had vanished completely. She had once considered building a life with him, but no longer. A lazy, bad-tempered, self-centered man was not worth considering. I do not care what he does. His choices are none of my business. Still, are you sure you want to keep sharing meals with him? Li Qinglan did not want Chen Lijun to keep pinning her hopes on such an irresponsible man. Chen Lijun glanced toward Feng Lily. She could not make the decision about their shared meals on her own. Though she did most of the cooking, she lacked the courage to refuse the arrangement. She had so little money, without pooling food resources, she worried she would not get through the coming winter. Don't look at me. You can choose for yourself whether you want to keep sharing meals. If you decide to stop, I will stop with you, Feng Lily said. She had no understanding of Chen Lijun's financial hardship and assumed Chen Lijun was still attached to Gu Qinghui. After all, they had seemed quite close not long ago. Surely feelings could not vanish overnight. Lily, Chen Lijun struggled to explain. Feng Lily had never known real hardship and could not fathom what it was like to live with almost no money. Sigh, you really have had a tough year. Perhaps hold off on splitting up the meals until next year. Li Qinglan cut in, sensing Chen Lijun's predicament and stepping in to smooth things over. Yes. Once our circumstances improve next year, we can stop sharing meals with them. Chen Lijun replied, giving Li Qinglan a grateful look. She knew Li Qinglan would understand. After supper, Li Qinglan set about processing the pine cones she had collected. She cracked open their tough outer shells with stones and picked out the pine nuts inside. Raw pine nuts tasted bitter and needed to be roasted to bring out their rich flavor. Before dawn the next day, Li Qinglan slung her basket over her shoulder and set off. She planned to go deep into the mountains to gather more pine cones and hazelnuts. Bringing other people along would make it hard for her to use her spatial storage and special abilities. She followed mountain trails and reached the outer edge of the deep forest just as day broke. Morning dew soaked her clothes after the long hike. She scanned her surroundings to make sure she was safe, then quickly pulled a change of clothes out of her spatial space and got dressed. The mountain air was chilly early in the morning, and she had no wish to catch a cold. She rested for a while. Once the sun rose and temperatures climbed, she continued onward. After avoiding several hazards, she came upon a vast forest of Korean pine trees. The trees grew tall and thick, stretching as far as the eye could see. Li Qinglan used her powers to rapidly ripen the pine cones and store them in her spatial space. Hour after hour passed, and her space filled with more and more pine cones. 3 hours later, she had gathered nearly every cone in this stretch of woodland. To leave enough food for the local squirrels through the winter, she used her abilities once more to make the pines blossom and bear new cones. She did not take all of them, leaving many easily reached cones hanging on the branches. A little past 1 in the afternoon, Li Qinglan packed up and pressed onward. She had gathered plenty of pine nuts, but still needed more hazelnuts. She also wanted to stock up on game meat for winter. She kept an eye out for pheasants and hares. Wild boar were too conspicuous. If she brought boar meat back, villagers would surely report her for violating collective campaign rules. Local custom held that small game caught on the mountain belonged to the hunter. Large animals had to be handed over to the production brigade for fair distribution. She walked another kilometer and reached a south-facing slope. A stream wound along its base, its banks thick with tangled weeds. From her vantage point on the slope, she spotted a flock of pheasants wandering on the opposite bank. This must have been their regular feeding ground. Li Qinglan slipped down the slope and crept forward. When she neared the stream, she saw that the land across the water was marshland overgrown with reeds and wild grass. She dared not cross carelessly. Marshland was treacherous, and one misstep could leave her trapped. She summoned wood, element vines to scout ahead. Her powers worked exceptionally well deep in these mountains. The vines snaked swiftly across the water. Before the pheasants could react, they were tangled tight. As the vines advanced, Li Qinglan gained a clear sense of the marsh across the stream. It grew far more dangerous the deeper one went. Besides pheasants and wild ducks, snakes and leeches lurked among the reeds. When she pulled the vines back, they were strung with pheasants and wild ducks like candied hawthorns on a stick. With a wave of her hand, all the birds vanished into her spatial space, and the vines dissolved back into seeds. Guided by the vine's reconnaissance, Li Qinglan carefully advanced into the marsh. She had sensed numerous wild duck and pheasant eggs hidden within the reeds. Her stored eggs had run out, so collecting these would be useful. She advanced slowly, letting her powers detect unstable ground and steer her clear of sinking mud. It was not long before she found a nest of pheasant eggs. They were small. 2 pheasant eggs roughly equaled 1 domestic chicken egg. Autumn had arrived, and it was too late for the birds to hatch chicks anyway. Rather than let the eggs rot in the marsh, she collected every single one. Soon afterward, she found a wild duck nest. Duck eggs were larger, perfect for preserving as salted eggs. For the next 2 hours, she explored the whole marsh. In total, she gathered more than 200 pheasant eggs and over 300 wild duck eggs. She had never expected such a rich haul. These eggs alone would sustain her through most of the winter. She left the marsh and hurried downhill. The trip into the mountains had taken over 2 hours, and the journey back took roughly the same amount of time. It was past 6 in the evening by the time she arrived back at the educated youth compound loaded with supplies. Hearing movement next door, Feng Lily hurried out of her room. "Qinglan, where have you been all day? I worried about you when you did not come back at noon." "I went deep into the mountains. There are not many pine cones closer in. Only the deep forest has large Korean pine stands." Li Qinglan set down her burdens for Feng Lily to see, 6 large sacks of pine cones and 1 heavily filled carrying basket. "Wow, you brought back so many pine cones." Feng Lily stared in amazement. 6 full burlap sacks would surely yield well over 100 jean of pine nuts once shelled. "This is only part of what I found. I left much more behind. I plan to head back into the mountains tomorrow." She had meant to gather hazelnuts today, but she had spent so long in the marsh that she had run out of time. "Can you take me with you tomorrow?" "No. You walk too slowly. We would have to turn around before we even reached the deep woods." Li Qinglan had no intention of bringing anyone else into the inner mountain zone. Wolves and large wild animals roamed there. Without openly using her special abilities, she could not guarantee everyone's safety. "Very well. You are awfully blunt. I am only telling the truth. With your limited stamina, stick to the safer outer mountain areas with Wang Jiwei and the others." From what Li Qinglan had observed, the outer mountain zones held little real danger. Wild boar had occasionally wandered through before, but she had dealt with the whole boar herd. As long as they did not go too far inward, boar encounters were unlikely for now. "Let's drop that topic. Are you hungry? I kept some food for you. I will go get it for you to eat." Feng Lily ran back into her room and soon returned carrying a large bowl. "Who made this? You didn't cook this yourself, did you?" Li Qinglan looked at the slightly burnt flatbread and guessed it was not Qin Lijun's work. "I made it. Pretty good, right?" Hu Xiaomei had taught her the technique. Though charred in spots, Hu Xiaomei had prepared most of the batter. So the flatbread was barely edible. "It is passable. You have improved." Li Qinglan was not fussy and would eat anything edible. Hu Xiaomei mixed the batter for me. Otherwise, it would have been completely inedible. Feng Lily knew her own limits. Getting food fully cooked counted as an achievement for her. "When did you get on good terms with Hu Xiaomei?" "It is not like we had a falling out. I paid her to teach me how to make flatbread." Feng Lily had truly tried to learn cooking these past few days. She had attempted lessons with Qin Lijun too. But she could follow instructions watching others, yet ruined everything once she tried it herself. If cooking really is too much trouble for you, you can always marry someone who knows how to cook. Then you will never have to set foot in a kitchen. Li Qinglan had no intention of finding a new husband for Feng Lily. Jiang Zhihai was a good match. He had fallen head over heels for Feng Lily the moment he saw her, and after they married, he catered to her every whim. Even when he found out the Feng family had fallen on hard times, he never grew tired of Feng Lily. Such a fine man was perfect for Feng Lily. Sigh, I wonder when I'll be able to return to the city. If I marry a man from the countryside, my father will definitely rush over and drag me back. Feng Lily shook her head vigorously. Her father had agreed to let her marry early only because her intended husband was Gu Qinghuai. They lived in the same courtyard compound, so she would still get to see him every day even after marriage. If she married a local villager, her father would be furious. No one can predict how fate works. When love comes, you might forget all about your father before you know it. Li Qinglan shot Feng Lily an amused glance. The more firmly she spoke now, the harder she would fall when reality proved her wrong later. We can worry about the future when it comes. Hurry up and eat, and remember to wash the dishes afterwards. Feng Lily fled back to her room. Li Qinglan's words had made her feel flustered. Carrying her pancake, Li Qinglan returned to her room without rushing to eat. First, she fetched 2 buckets of water from the well in the front yard to boil. While the water heated up, she watered the vegetable patch outside. Only after finishing all her chores did she sit down to eat. The pancakes were rather dry on their own, so she secretly took a bottle of milk out of her spatial storage to drink. The next day, Li Qinglan headed up the mountain along her usual path once more. She set off earlier that day. By the time she passed the pine forest and reached the marshland, it was just past 9 in the morning. The marshland seemed quiet today, likely because she had collected many of the wild pheasants and ducks there the previous day. Li Qinglan changed direction, circled around the marshland and kept walking until she spotted a stand of hazelnut trees, where she stopped. Before she could start picking the hazelnuts, she heard rapid footsteps not far away. To stay safe, she quickly climbed up a tree. Moments later, a herd of wild boars came into view, followed by 2 imposing large tigers. The second she saw the tigers, Li Qinglan's heart skipped a beat. She did not want to fight them and could only hope they would leave soon. Fortunately, the tigers were focused entirely on the wild boars and had not noticed her. Shortly afterwards, both the tigers and the boars vanished from sight. Seizing the chance, Li Qinglan used her special ability to gather all the hazelnuts on the tree, then left the area. On her way back, she stayed constantly on edge, using her power to urge the plants in the forest to clear a path ahead of her. Afraid of running into the tigers, she never let her guard down. Luck was on her side. She encountered no tigers at all and instead came across a passing herd of wild cattle and deer. She loved venison and beef, so she was not going to let this opportunity slip away. She directed vines to wrap around the animals with her ability, selecting several bulls and stags, and let the rest go free. There was plenty of time that day. On her way down the mountain, she dug up 2 ginseng roots, caught more than a dozen rabbits, 2 roe deer, and over 10 wild pheasants. Her harvest was abundant, and the wild cattle and deer herds were a wonderful surprise. Beef was extremely hard to come by these days. The cattle raised in the village were precious livestock. No one would slaughter them, and villagers rarely even scolded them. Once she emerged from the deep mountains, she carried 6 large sacks down the slope as usual. Pine cones took up a lot of space, and each sack held only about 50 jin. Even with 6 sacks of pine cones, the total weight was less than 300 jin. When she got back to the educated youth spot, Feng Lily was there to greet her as always. Feng Lily had not gone up the mountain that day. She had stayed behind to crack open pine cones and extract pine nuts. Lily, the dried pine cones can be used for firewood later. Don't smash them to pieces like that. Find something to pry them open. If you're not in a hurry, they will split open naturally once they dry out. Li Qinglan frowned when she saw Feng Lily smashing the pine cones with a stone. It was such a crude way to get the pine nuts out. Really? I thought fresh pine cones would make it easier to get the nuts out quickly. Feng Lily had not known that. She had never processed pine nuts herself and had only ever eaten roasted ones. If Li Qinglan had not told her pine nuts grew inside pine cones, she would have thought they grew underground like peanuts. You should spread the pine nuts out on the ground to dry for 2 days. We can ask Aunt Wang to show you how to process them then. Li Qinglan shook her head. She did not know how to do it either and had to rely on Aunt Wang for help. All right then. Oh right, Qinglan, the mail carrier came today. I saw a letter addressed to you and kept it safe. Feng Lily nearly forgot about the letter. She hurried into her room, fetched it and handed it over to Li Qinglan. Li Qinglan glanced at the envelope and tore the letter up straight away. Her worthless father actually had the nerve to write to her, demanding she return the money she had taken from home. Some people truly had no shame. How could he bring himself to send such a letter? She crumpled the scraps and tossed them into the stove to burn along with the firewood for cooking later. Feng Lily's heart sank when she saw Li Qinglan's dark expression. Had she accidentally caused trouble again? Qinglan, what's wrong? Nothing. The contents of the letter just upset me. I'm going to start cooking. Take your time with the pine nuts. Li Qinglan walked back to her room. She was not worried about her father and the rest of her family coming after her. Everyone had seen her leave the educated youth spot carrying only a single gunny sack. There was no way all her belongings could fit inside it. Li Jianguo could only threaten her to pay back the 1,000 yuan he had spent to send Li Qimei to the countryside in her place. She was not foolish enough to hand the money back. Once she calmed down, Li Qinglan set about cooking happily. That evening, she planned to make chive stir, fried with eggs, paired with corn porridge. She had learned how to make corn porridge from a southern friend in her previous life and had fallen in love with the flavor after tasting it once. The porridge took nearly an hour to simmer until the corn was fully tender. After a long tiring day, a bowl of warm corn porridge sounded wonderful. Li Qinglan finished dinner and was about to tend to her vegetable patch when she spotted Zhang Guilan walking toward her carrying a basket. Comradely, the cabbages and radishes you planted are thriving. They'll be ready to harvest in less than half a month. It's all thanks to Aunt Wang's seedlings. My newly cleared plot of land wouldn't produce such good vegetables otherwise. You're being too modest. Your vegetable patch looks just as good as the Wang's. Zhang Guilan got along well with Li Qinglan. She was humble and got on harmoniously with all the villagers. Unlike some educated youths who held their heads high and looked down on everyone for no obvious reason. Team leader, did you come to see me about something? I'm heading to the first farm tomorrow. Would you like to come along? You asked me earlier where ginseng could be found. There are ginseng plants on the mountains near the first farm. Few people venture there, and many other valuable medicinal herbs grow there too. Zhang Guilan leaned in and whispered the last part. There were too many other educated youths around the quarters, and she did not want others to overhear. Why are you going to the first farm? Isn't your son coming home before winter sets in? Li Qinglan was confused. What had prompted Zhang Guilan's sudden trip? Had something happened to her son or daughter-in-law? I plan to trade supplies there for the winter. The farm is close to deep mountains, so every household hunts. I want to barter for some mountain goods. Zhang Guilan dared not travel to the first farm alone, which was why she wanted to invite Li Qinglan and Aunt Wang to come with her. Sounds good. What time will we set off tomorrow? Li Qinglan had no plans for the next day, so the trip suited her well. If she got the chance, she could explore the mountains near the farm and try to hunt more game. The wild cattle and deer she had encountered the previous day had been a pleasant surprise. Her only regret was not spotting wild sheep. A bowl of mutton soup would be perfect once winter arrived. We'll leave before dawn and meet at the village entrance. Early the next morning, before the sky lightened, Li Qinglan slung her favorite small basket over her shoulder and headed to the village meeting point. She thought she had arrived early, but Aunt Wang and Zhang Guilan were already waiting for her. Aunt Wang, team leader, you're both up very early. Li Qinglan smiled and walked over to greet them. We can't dawdle. Let's set off at once. If we delay, we won't reach the first farm before dark. Zhang Guilan began pulling a handcart forward. The journey from Dade village to the first farm was more than 50 kilometers, which would take almost 12 hours on foot. If they walked slowly and stopped to rest often, reaching their destination before nightfall would be impossible. Doesn't the bus to the first farm pass our village entrance? Why don't we wait for the bus? It only costs 2 yuan per person. 50 kilometers was a long way to walk. Li Qinglan preferred to take the bus. The 2 yuan fare could buy several jin of pork. We'd better walk. Zhang Guilan could not bear to spend the money on bus tickets. We're going to trade goods to earn a little extra. If we pay for the bus both ways, there's no point in making the trip at all. Aunt Wang agreed. She hoped to make a small profit from trading mountain products. Bus fares would eat up all her earnings, leaving her out of pocket. Very well, we'll walk then. Seeing that both women insisted, Li Qinglan resigned herself to the long journey. At first, she thought they were unnecessarily enduring hardship, but then she reflected. Money was hard to earn in this era, and 2 yuan was a substantial sum for ordinary villagers. The road to the first farm was wide and easy to follow all the way. Zhang Guilan and Aunt Wang planned to trade a large quantity of goods. Hence the handcart loaded with empty gunny sacks. The three women chatted as they walked, and time passed quickly. By midday, they had covered more than half the distance. Qinglan, Old Wang, are you tired? Shall we stop and rest for a while? Zhang Guilan's question was mainly directed at Aunt Wang. She knew Li Qinglan had great stamina and could handle the distance easily. I'm worn out. Age is catching up with me. I haven't walked this far in years. Aunt Wang gasped for breath. Bear with it a little longer. See those wheat fields ahead? Once we cross them, we'll reach the main compound of the first farm. Zhang Guilan pointed toward the distant wheat fields. The first farm is so remote. I would never have found this place without your guidance. Li Qinglan was truly experiencing how difficult travel was during this period. She would never have traveled such a long distance if Zhang Guilan had not invited her. I wouldn't dare make this journey alone, surrounded by these wild hills. Having you with us gives us peace of mind. Zhang Guilan would not have come without Li Qinglan's company. She could have asked her son to bring her whatever she needed instead of traveling all this way herself. Qinglan, thank you for accompanying us. Rest assured, we will help you whenever you need anything in future. Aunt Wang felt guilty. Li Qinglan could have taken the bus, but chose to walk alongside them. Don't mention it. You two have helped me many times before. Li Qinglan smiled. The walk was not a burden to her. We can stay at my eldest son's house once we arrive. His place is quite spacious. There is enough room for all of us. Zhang Guilan's son and daughter-in-law had settled at the first farm. They had built 2 brick houses and led a decent life. Should we split up to trade tomorrow or stay together? I think splitting up would be more efficient. Aunt Wang turned to Zhang Guilan for her opinion. We could separate, but I'm worried Comrade Li might get lost. How about this? Comrade Li can look around the main compound area, and we'll go further out to trade. Zhang Guilan was concerned Li Qinglan might lose her way. I'll be fine. I have a good sense of direction. Li Qinglan intended to explore on her own. Traveling with the other 2 women would only restrict her. She had no desire to stay near the main compound either. So many families lived close together there, no one would dare bring out valuable goods to trade. It would be far easier to conduct trades in a quieter, more isolated area. We can decide tomorrow. Let's keep moving for now. Zhang Guilan saw Li Qinglan would not change her mind and dropped the subject. After finishing their rest, they continued on their way. They stopped frequently along the remaining stretch of road and finally reached Zhang Guilan's eldest son's home at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Sister Zhang, your eldest son lives far from the main farm compound. It's quite a trek just to get there. Aunt Wang sank onto the ground as soon as she arrived, panting heavily. That's how it is on the farm. The land stretches far and wide, so households are scattered apart. Zhang Guilan did not have a key to her son's house, so they sat on the doorstep waiting for him and his wife to finish work. Aunt Wang, why didn't you bring your eldest and second son with you? You're exhausted already. Pushing a cart loaded with goods back home alone might take more than 2 days. Li Qinglan worried about Aunt Wang's health. She had needed to stop and recover many times on the walkover. I told my boys to come fetch me in 3 days. They have work shifts right now. Traveling with us would waste their time. Aunt Wang had planned everything carefully. She would complete all her trading first, and her sons would arrive later to haul the goods back. Old Wang, you're so clever. Why didn't I think of that? Zhang Guilan slapped her thigh in regret. She wished she had asked her younger son and husband to come in 3 days too. Then she would not have to struggle pushing the loaded handcart back alone. That's because you spoil your youngest son. Your daughter is coddled enough, but your 20-year-old boy has never worked a day in the fields. Aunt Wang disapproved of how indulgent Zhang Guilan was toward her children. My youngest son has a job in the city. He can't be expected to work farmland after finishing his shift. Zhang Guilan disagreed. Tisk, carry on spoiling him. You'll regret it one day. Aunt Wang sighed and did not press the matter further. She had once believed Wang Xiaoshan was successful with his city job, until she heard Sanjun mention seeing the young man at the black market. At first she thought Sanjun had mistaken someone else for him. But after thinking about Wang Xiaoshuan's odd working hours, the truth dawned on her. No regular job required someone to sneak out in the middle of the night. Only idle men trading on the black market kept such hours. Nearly an hour passed before Wang Dasan and his wife returned from the fields. Mother, Aunt Wang, what brings you here? Wang Dasan was shocked. Date Village was extremely far away. I came to trade for mountain goods. Why are you back so late? Haven't you finished harvesting the corn? Zhang Guilan's heart ached seeing her exhausted son. She hurried to scoop him a ladle of water from the water vat. Wang Dashun was terribly thirsty. He drained the water in one gulp and finally felt some relief. We've gathered the corn, but we still need to cut down all the corn stalks. We'll be busy for another half-month. Wang Dashun and his wife worked alongside the army corps. They would keep laboring until the first snow fell. You have such hard work ahead of you. Work in our village is already done, and everyone is preparing for autumn storage. Aunt Wang looked at the sun darkened, gaunt Wang Dashun. She did not envy his monthly wages. Her own sons had wanted to come to the farm to support construction, but she had refused them. Life at home was poor, yet free and less grueling. Life on the farm meant strict rules and backbreaking labor. There is so much land to tend here. Wife, start preparing dinner. Mother and the others have traveled all day. Wang Dashun turned to his wife. Right away. His daughter-in-law headed into the kitchen. You must be worn out. Let us cook instead. Go inside and rest. I'll heat water so you can wipe yourselves down and soak your feet before bed. Zhang Guilin stopped her daughter-in-law before she could argue. Li Qinglan barely knew Wang Dashun and his wife, and she grew bored sitting silently. Aunt Wang and Zhang Guilin were busy in the kitchen, so there was nothing for her to help with. She excused herself and stepped outside. Wang Dashun's house stood amid wheat fields, some distance from the mountains. Li Qinglan walked back along the path they had taken earlier. She thought she had spotted a small river on the way in and wanted to check it out. After walking for about 10 minutes, she reached the river. It appeared to be an artificial channel, not very wide, built to irrigate the farmland. Following the riverbank further, she saw the home of Wang Dashun's nearest neighbor. The dwelling stood more than a kilometer away, yet it was the closest house around. Li Qinglan had no intention of introducing herself to a stranger and planned to leave the riverbank. Before she could go, 2 young girls walked toward her. The bolder girl with a ponytail stepped straight up to Li Qinglan, tilted her head and stared at her curiously. Hello, sister. What's your name? Why haven't we seen you before? My name is Li Qinglan. I'm here to visit relatives. Little girl, it's getting late. Why haven't you gone home for dinner? Li Qinglan ruffled the little girl's hair. She was such an adorable child with a round face. Usually, the young girls she saw in Dade Village were always dirty, but these 2 sisters were different. Though their clothes were patched, they were neatly kept. I'm waiting for Mother to come back and cook. She's late again today. She must still be busy with work. The little girl frowned, worry written all over her face. Don't fret. Your mother is an adult and can take care of herself. You 2 shouldn't wander around. It will be dark soon. Head home quickly. Seeing how sensible the little girl was, Li Qinglan felt a twinge of sympathy. Thank you, sister. Nuan will go home and wait for Mother soon. I won't run off. Your name is Nuan? It sounds lovely. I'll remember it. Off you go now. Li Qinglan waved at the girl and watched her leave before turning to head back. Faintly, she heard the older sister scolding the younger one. Nuan, why would you talk to a stranger? What if she's a human trafficker and takes you away? The pretty sister isn't a trafficker. She's a good person. Does good person get stamped on someone's forehead? You're far too trusting, and that's how people get tricked. I'm not talking to you anymore. You're a mean sister. Fine by me. I don't want to talk to you either. Stubborn little sister, you're no fun. Wah, you're being horrible, sister. You're picking on me. Come catch me if you can. Nah, you can't reach me. When Li Qinglan returned to Wang Dashun's house, Zhang Guilin had already prepared dinner. That night they ate steamed buns they had brought from home. Zhang Guilin fried salted vegetables, cold cucumber salad, and chives with eggs. Comradely, you're finally back. Come and eat quickly. Zhang Guilin warmly invited Li Qinglan to sit down. She had grown worried when she stepped outside and could not see her, fearing she might get lost wandering about. Li Qinglan found the meal somewhat awkward. Zhang Guilin rarely got to see her son, and the mother and son had endless things to talk about over dinner. They chatted and laughed constantly. Li Qinglan was used to eating alone, and the sudden liveliness at the table made her uneasy. After supper, everyone washed up briefly and prepared to sleep on the king. There was only one Kong in Wang Dashun's home, so they would all have to squeeze together. Uncomfortable with sharing sleeping quarters with strangers, Li Qinglan chose to lay a mat on the floor in the storage room. Thankfully, the weather was still mild. Staying there would have been unbearable otherwise. There was a wooden cot in the storage room, presumably where Wang Dashun napped during the day. After bolting the door, Li Qinglan retrieved a mattress from her spatial storage and laid it on the cot. She arranged clean bedding and a pillow, then lay down to rest. Over the next 2 days, Li Qinglan split up with Zhang Guilan and the others to trade for supplies separately. Interested in rare mountain goods, she headed toward the mountains. Most people living near the foothills were hunters. Ordinary folk dared not settle there, as wild animals roamed the area, making it extremely dangerous. At first, the hunters were wary of Li Qinglan and unwilling to bring out their best goods for trade. They only trusted her once she pulled out her purse of money. The hunters truly had valuable wares. Li Qinglan traded for tiger pelts, sable furs, deer hides, wolf skins, deer antlers, bear bile wine, ginseng wine, deer blood wine, tiger bone wine, various dried meats, and more. She also bought several wild ginseng roots from them. She already had ginseng in her space, but she could resell these. She knew a wealthy young woman named Feng Lily. She could sell the ginseng to her, or use Feng Lily to pass them on to other buyers. After leaving the hunters' homes, Li Qinglan wandered the vicinity and traded for mushrooms and wild honey. Just as she was about to turn back, an elderly woman stepped out of a house and called out to her. "Young lady, I heard you're buying mountain goods. Would you be interested in what I have here?" The woman opened a box tucked in her arms and held it out to Li Qinglan. "Why, elder sister, is that cow bezoar inside the box?" Li Qinglan's eyes lit up. Cow bezoar was extremely precious. It was a key ingredient for Angang Huang pills in later years. As time went on, bezoar would grow increasingly scarce, driving its price higher and higher. This bezoar was left by my late husband. He used to herd cattle for a landlord. Some memory stirred in the woman's heart, and tears welled up in her eyes. "Elder sister, how much are you hoping to sell this for?" Not knowing how to comfort her, Li Qinglan changed the subject. "You name a price. I don't know its worth. I just hope to get some money out of it. Would 50 yuan work for this piece of bezoar?" Li Qinglan was not a merchant and had little idea of the going rate. "That's more than enough. 50 yuan is 2 months' wages for an average factory worker." The woman was satisfied with the offer and nodded eagerly. "Very well. Here are your 50 yuan. Please keep it safe." Once the transaction was done, Li Qinglan left with the bezoar. Back at Wang Dashuan's house, she quickly stowed all the most precious items into her spatial storage. Ginseng, bezoar, deer antlers, deer blood wine, tiger bone wine, and the like were of no immediate use to her if left out. Zhang Guilan and second Aunt Wang had also reaped good gains over the 2 days. They mostly sought grain and assorted dried goods. The first farm had abundant dried produce, but no regular buyers. They purchased stock cheaply, planning to take it to the city market to earn a modest profit. That evening at Wang Dashuan's home, everyone sorted their belongings to prepare for the journey back. They had been away for several days, and the village team leader would not look kindly on further delays. "Comradely, what have you traded for these past 2 days? You leave early and return late every day. You must have acquired plenty of nice things." Second Aunt Wang glanced curiously at Li Qinglan's wicker basket. It looked too small to hold much. "I didn't get all that much, just a few small odds and ends." Li Qinglan smiled and said no more. The rare goods she had traded for were not meant to be shared with others. "I wish we'd traveled together. We could have kept each other company. The place I went to today had so many fine goods, all kinds of dried mushrooms." Second Aunt Wang had stocked up on mushrooms, Hericium arenaceus, hazel mushrooms, termite mushrooms, and many others. Such things might be common in the countryside, but they were rare delicacies in the cities. "Don't worry about me, Second Aunt Wang. I've had quite a productive trip too." Li Qinglan lifted the cloth covering her basket to reveal its contents. Second Aunt Wang's eyes widened. "Comradely, where did you get all this dried meat?" "I went to the 5th hamlet today. It borders deep mountain territory where game is plentiful. I traded with a hunter for 20 jin of dried meat, plus 2 ginseng roots around 10 years old." What Li Qinglan showed them was only a small portion. Most of her haul was already safely stored in her space. Ginseng is valuable, but 10-year roots don't fetch much of a price. You'd be better off keeping them to nourish your body. Zhang Guilan also spotted the ginseng in the basket. Roots of such young maturity were not ideal. Ordinary families could not afford them, while those who needed medicinal ginseng would dismiss roots this young. "That's all right. I never plan to sell them. When winter comes, I can simmer ginseng chicken soup to keep healthy." Li Qinglan owned older, more potent ginseng. These 10-year roots were merely extra items thrown into the bargain. "Sister Zhang, you've brought back quite a load. Are you keeping these supplies for your family or taking them to market to sell?" Second Aunt Wang stared at the sack behind Zhang Guilan. She had been busy these days and had not asked what Zhang Guilan had collected. I'll keep the grain for my household and sell the rest of the dried goods. I wonder when the seasonal market will open this year. I need to head over early to claim a good stall. Before the quiet winter months each year, the commune organized a market fair. Grain could not be traded there, but nearly all other goods could be exchanged freely without supply tickets. Zhang Guilan never missed this yearly event. Mountain goods might not earn huge sums, but small profits added up, enough to cover the family's annual expenses for oil, salt, thread, and needles. Second Aunt Wang, team leader, our village holds a market fair? When will it start? Can goods be traded freely there? Li Qinglan grew interested upon hearing news of the fair. It usually opens right before the quiet winter season. The village team leader will send word to everyone. There will be another fair around New Year's after this one. I'll ask Hua to take you along then. Thank you, Second Aunt Wang. Without your and the team leader's help, I would have struggled to settle into life in Dave Village. Li Qinglan was grateful to have met warm-hearted people like Second Aunt Wang and Zhang Guilan. Without their guidance, she would still be a clueless newcomer sent down from the city. We get along well with you, otherwise we wouldn't go out of our way to include you. Many veteran, educated youths at the settlement have few practical skills yet carry arrogant attitudes. If you acted like them, we wouldn't bother reaching out. Second Aunt Wang had taken a liking to Li Qinglan from their first meeting, and her opinion of her only grew warmer as they spent time together. Speaking of Hua, how are things between her and educated youth Lu? Zhang Guilan's thoughts turned to Hua at the mention of her name. She had seen Wang Hua chasing after Lu Zhanghua before, but had not spotted Hua working in the fields recently. I think she's finally come to her senses. She no longer brings eggs from home to curry favor with educated youth Lu. Second Aunt Wang sighed, thinking of her stubborn daughter. There were plenty of fine young men in the village, yet Hua set her heart on him. She could not fathom what was so appealing about Lu Zhanghua to make Hua humble herself like that. Educated youth Lu? Lu Zhanghua. Li Qinglan recalled there was only one educated youth surnamed Lu at the settlement, the ambitious young man from a poor rural family. That's him. He's just fair-skinned. In every other way, he cannot compare to the young men of our village. Zhang Guilan disliked educated youths who tricked village girls into working for them, and Lu Zhanghua was one such person. He strung Wang Hua along while accepting attentions from other village girls. Worse still, Zhang Guilan suspected Lu Zhanghua harbored improper intentions toward her own daughter, and she could not tolerate that. Lu Zhanghua is not trustworthy. Second Aunt Wang, you ought to keep a close eye on Hua and stop her from being deceived. He comes from a destitute family, no matter how he appears. Having read the novel's plot, Li Qinglan knew Lu Zhanghua's true nature. In the original story, he succeeded in marrying Wang Xiaozhen. When educated youths were allowed to return to the cities later, he abandoned Wang Xiaozhen and their child and left alone. His fate was miserable afterwards. After returning to town, he fell victim to schemes from the Chen family, lost his job, and sank deep into debt, living in constant hardship. That seems strange. He always comes back from the city carrying big parcels. His family must be well off. Zhang Guilan had seen him collecting packages in town many times. He did not look like someone without money. The packages belonged to his girlfriend, not him. Li Qinglan could not reveal too many details and chose to hint only. She trusted Zhang Guilan and Second Aunt Wang. Lu Zhanghua's girlfriend lived in the neighboring village, and they could uncover the truth with a little asking around. He has a girlfriend? Who is she? I've never seen her. Zhang Guilan was shocked. Lu Zhanghua had hidden this secret well. He had been sent down to the countryside for more than 2 years. Yet no one knew he had a sweetheart. I don't know her name. I saw them talking closely when I went to the city some time ago. When they parted, she handed him a large parcel. Li Qinglan did not know Chen Yimei by sight. She spoke only of what she had witnessed, which was the truth. Second Aunt Wang was stunned by what she heard. She could not believe Lu Zhanghua would dare toy with village girls when he already had a girlfriend. Do you recognize that young woman? I don't. She was with a group of educated youths, so she's likely from one of the nearby villages. Li Qinglan shook her head. Chen Yimei was a minor character in the novel. Even if she met her face to face, she would probably not recognize her. There's no rush to investigate. Next time educated youth Lu heads to the city, I'll send Xiaoshan to follow him and find out the truth. Zhang Guilan was in no hurry to expose Lu Zhanghua. Besides, her own daughter Xiaoshan had no interest in him anyway. The next day on the journey home, Li Qinglan walked at the front carrying her wicker basket. Behind her, Zhang Guilan and second Aunt Wang pushed handcarts and moved slowly. As she walked, Li Qinglan scanned the mountainsides for wild game. The remote hills were rich in natural resources. She spotted many medicinal herbs along the path. Astragalus, in particular, grew everywhere in these mountains. Unfortunately, she did not know how to process raw medicinal herbs, otherwise, the astragalus could have been sold for a good price. As she passed beside a cliff, Li Qinglan faintly heard someone calling for help. There was no time to alert second Aunt Wang and Zhang Guilan. She hurried toward the cliff edge. When she reached the bottom of the cliff, she saw a man lying on the ground barely conscious. Beside him were a dagger and a shattered wicker basket. "Hey, are you all right?" Li Qinglan stepped forward and gently nudged him. She breathed a sigh of relief once he opened his eyes. Thankfully, he was still alive. She would have faced serious trouble if he had died. "Young lady, could you help me get home? I'm the barefoot doctor from the village ahead. I slipped and fell off the cliff while trying to pick a Ganoderma lucidum up there." The man spoke weakly. His face was smudged with blood, making him look disheveled. "You have incredible luck. Falling from such a height and surviving." Li Qinglan glanced up at the cliff and marveled. Falls from that height usually resulted in severe injury or death. The man only had minor wounds. He could not stand because his back had struck a rock during the fall, requiring plenty of rest to recover. "I suppose fortune favored me. I landed on tree branches that softened the impact. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to speak to you now." The man let out a bitter laugh. He would never have chased after that Ganoderma if he had known he would fall. "Wait here. I'll gather branches to make a stretcher and drag you down the mountain." Li Qinglan already carried her basket and could not support his weight on her back. Pulling him down on a makeshift stretcher was her only option. She piled on extra branches to make the journey less bumpy. "Wait, you're going to drag me down the mountain." The injured man's sentence trailed off as Li Qinglan walked away. He could only hope he would not crash into rocks or tree stumps along the way. Or he might not survive the trip. Ignoring his worries, Li Qinglan tied branches together to form a simple stretcher and carefully lifted him onto it. As they descended, she used her special ability to support the base of the stretcher while walking quickly. The injured man had braced himself for a rough ride, yet the stretcher moved surprisingly smoothly. Lying on it felt quite comfortable. When Li Qinglan reached the main path, an ox cart happened to pass by. Even better, the cart driver knew the injured doctor. "Dr. Li, what happened to you?" "Uncle Wang, I'm so glad to see you. This young lady was about to carry me down the mountain. Now that you're here, could you give me a ride?" Dr. Li struggled to sit up on the makeshift stretcher but failed. "Uncle, come help me lift the stretcher onto your ox cart together." Relieved that someone else could take over caring for the injured man, Li Qinglan called to Uncle Wang. "Young lady, may I know your name?" "I'm the barefoot doctor from Qinjiao. Come find me if you ever run into trouble." Dr. Li was deeply thankful. Without her help, he might have ended up as prey for wild animals in the mountains. "My name is Li Qinglan. I'm an educated youth from Dave Village." Li Qinglan had no intention of refusing acknowledgement. She had saved his life and did not mind giving her name. "Thank you, Comrade Li. I will come to your village with a gift to repay you soon." Shortly after Dr. Li finished speaking, the ox cart trundled forward. Uncle Wang needed to return for work and could not linger. Li Qinglan watched them leave before continuing on her way. Their paths diverged. They turned left while she went right. Nearly an hour had been lost to the rescue. Second Aunt Wang and Zhang Guilan had traveled far ahead. Li Qinglan quickened her pace to catch up. If she stayed separated much longer, they would fear she had gotten lost. Luckily, the two women moved slowly, and she caught up soon enough. Second Aunt Wang looked surprised to see Li Qinglan emerge from behind. "Comrade Li, you were walking ahead of us earlier. How did you end up behind?" "I saw you were moving slowly, so I wandered up the hillside for a while. These mountains are full of valuable resources. So many medicinal herbs and mushrooms grow here untouched. It's such a waste." Li Qinglan was tempted to stay another 2 days to explore the mountain range thoroughly. Few people ventured deep into these hills, and she might chance upon ancient wild ginseng roots. These are endless stretches of mountains. Qinjiao, the nearest village, is more than 10 kilometers away, not to mention other settlements. Second Aunt Wang explained patiently, seeing Li Qinglan's interest. "You know so much, Second Aunt Wang." When Li Qinglan first passed through the area, she had seen no other villages and assumed Date Village was the closest settlement to the first farm. She had not realized another village lay along the side turning. Though it looks close from here, Dade Village and Qinjiao are far apart. Qinjiao belongs to Hongqing Commune, not Hongqi Commune. Hongqing Commune? I've heard they have many collective farms there. Private large-scale farming was restricted at this time, but collective farms were permitted. Hongqing Commune ran several sizable collective breeding farms. They have wide land and sparse population, perfect for raising livestock. They also grow large plots of cotton and pear trees. I can take you there sometime. We can trade for pears to make frozen pears. Dade Village sat close to Harbin. Transportation was convenient and the soil fertile. Yet there were more villagers than available farmland. Most land was used for grain, with little space left for other crops. If they wanted pears or cotton, they had to travel to Hongqing Commune to trade. It would be great if our village built a pig farm. Then at the end of every year, the village could slaughter pigs and share some pork with us. The last time Zhang Guilan had meat was when Li Qinglan gave her some wild pheasant. If she had to wait for meat from her own family, she would have to hold out until the new year. Her family only raised one pig. After slaughtering it at year's end, half would have to be handed over, leaving her with merely dozens of catties. Once she sold another portion and sent some back to her parents' home, barely any would remain. We can ask the production brigade leader for permission. Our village has plenty of people. If we worry about not having enough feed for the pigs, we can plant more sweet potatoes at the foot of the mountain. Li Qinglan already knew the village pig farm would expand the following year. But the brigade leader hadn't made the announcement yet, so she could not reveal her foreknowledge to the others. Sigh, people can barely get by, never mind raising pigs. Zhang Guilan let out a long sigh. It was only in the past couple of years that life had grown slightly easier for everyone. 10 years prior, a famine had struck, and many villagers had starved to death. We must trust our leaders. Under their guidance, our lives will surely keep getting better. Li Qinglan thought life was decent enough at present, only hampered by a shortage of supplies. At the very least, everyone lived in peace, free from the chaos of war. That's true. Our lives are definitely improving. Things are much better than they used to be. In recent years, I haven't heard of anyone starving in nearby villages. Zhang Guilan nodded thoughtfully. All right, stop chatting, both of you. We need to keep moving. It's nearly noon, and we haven't covered half the journey yet. Aunt Wang was exhausted, but she gritted her teeth and pressed on, determined to get home before dark. Aunt Wang, let me push the cart for you for a while. You're soaked in sweat, and I still have plenty of energy. Li Qinglan offered when she saw how worn out Aunt Wang looked. Thank you so much, educated youthly. A few more kilometers ahead, and we should meet my eldest son and second son. Aunt Wang was able to keep going only because she knew her two sons would arrive soon, otherwise, she would not have managed. Meanwhile, Wang Dajuan and Wang Erjuan were indeed not far away. They had set off before dawn. After 8 hours of walking, they had covered most of the route. Such a distance seemed daunting to others. But these strong laborers were used to it. They often made multiple trips deep into the mountains to cut firewood. Work far more strenuous than simply walking. 20 more minutes along the road, the group finally met up. No one was happier than Aunt Wang, who would no longer have to haul the loaded cart home. If Li Qinglan hadn't been there, she and Zhang Guilan would not have managed to push the cart up the slope earlier. Mother, you must be worn out. Hand over the cart, and you can sit and rest for a bit. Wang Dajuan took hold of the cart from Aunt Wang and noticed there was space on it, urging his mother to climb aboard. No need. I won't feel so tired as long as I don't have to push. Even though the dried mushrooms on the cart were not especially heavy, pushing it had left her gasping for breath. Beside them, Wang Erjuan took over Zhang Guilan's cart. Aunt Zhang, let me push yours. Thank you, Erjuan. Even with only a light load, pushing the cart was no easy task. In that moment, she realized how helpful sons could be. If she had asked her younger son to come meet her, she would not have endured such hardship. Wang Erjuan, why don't you take my basket and carry it for me? Li Qinglan teased him, noticing he kept his distance from her. All right, pass me the basket then. Since Li Qinglan had spoken, Wang Erjuan reluctantly stepped forward to take the basket from her. I wonder, Wang Erjuan, why do you keep avoiding me? I've never laid a hand on you. Every time Li Qinglan tried to ask him something, he kept his distance, as if afraid she would lash out. I'm not, Erjuan is just wary of you, Aunt Wang cut in to explain as she watched her son stammer. Word of how you hunted the wild boar has spread all across Dade Village. He's afraid of provoking you. Wang Erjuan, are you really that timid? Li Qinglan suspected Aunt Wang was not telling the whole truth, but she chose not to press him if he did not wish to talk. He let out an awkward chuckle and said nothing more. Now then, educated youthly, stop teasing him. He's a quiet soul, just like his father. Never one for conversation. Aunt Wang linked arms with Li Qinglan and walked forward, letting Wang Erjuan follow behind, pushing the handcart. The group stopped and started repeatedly on the journey back. It was completely dark by the time they arrived in Dade village. Night hung quiet over the hamlet, broken only by the occasional bark of a dog. Li Qinglan bid farewell to Zhang Guilan and Aunt Wang, then headed back to the educated youth dormitory. Having been away for several days, she set down her things and hurried straight to check her vegetable plot. She had left the garden and the pine nuts spread out to dry in the care of Feng Lily and Qin Lijun. Thankfully, they had not let her down. The vegetables were well tended and none had withered. The pine nuts had dried after several days in the sun. She could shell them when she had time tomorrow. Feng Lily and Qin Lijun heard movement from the neighboring room and stepped out of their quarters. Qinglan, you're finally back. Feng Lily trotted over to her, grasping her hand and speaking excitedly. What have you two been up to these past few days? The pine cones stacked by the door look almost the same as before. Glancing at the pile, Li Qinglan could tell they had barely worked. Don't mention it. Gu Qinghuai has been heading into town every day with Li Nan and Wang Jiwei. No one knows what they're up to. Feng Lily thought Gu Qinghuai had been acting strangely lately, always secretive. He had even quarreled with her when he came back that evening for no obvious reason. Tomorrow, get those pine cones shelled quickly and store them inside your room. Li Qinglan could guess what was happening. Gu Qinghuai's sudden shift in attitude must stem from trouble hitting Feng Lily's family. News had not yet reached the village, but it would not stay hidden for long. As Feng Lily's friend, she had to warn her to safeguard her belongings. You're right. Those pine cones were hard, earned when we hiked up the mountain with Wang Jiwei. I won't let Gu Qinghuai get his hands on them. Realizing the danger, Feng Lily quickly fetched sacks to pack up the pine cones. Don't just pack the pine nuts. Hide all your valuables well and keep them out of sight. Li Qinglan worried that once word spread about the Feng family's troubles, the other educated youths would turn on Feng Lily. Feng Lily possessed many precious items. If they were discovered, there was no telling what trouble might arise. I'll go hide everything right away. After Feng Lily left, Qin Lijun walked over to Li Qinglan. Qinglan, do you already know something has happened to the Feng family? Li Qinglan nodded but said nothing further. How did you find out? Just a guess. Qinglan, what should I do in this situation? Qin Lijun twisted the hem of her jacket anxiously, waiting for her reply. That depends on what you want. If you choose to join others against her, I cannot stop you. But think carefully about the consequences, so you won't regret your choices later. Li Qinglan knew Feng Lily would survive this crisis. Even in the original novel, when she was pushed to the brink, Jiang Jihai stepped forward to help her. I could never do such a thing. I may not be perfect, but I am not cruel. Lily has never wronged me, and I will not harm her. Afraid Li Qinglan might misunderstand her, Qin Lijun rushed to explain. Qin Lijun, I know your family struggles, and you hope to advance your position through Gu Qinghuai. But ask yourself, can a man abandon his fiancée and still be trusted? You would be better off choosing Wang Jiwei. At the very least, his feelings for you are genuine. After observing them for a long time, Li Qinglan had noticed Wang Jiwei's quiet affection for Qin Lijun. He had only kept his feelings hidden because he knew Qin Lijun was fond of Gu Qinghuai. What? That can't be. How could he have feelings for me? Qin Lijun shook her head in disbelief. Back when they were studying, Wang Jiwei had always stuck close to Feng Lily, and she had assumed he loved Feng Lily. If you don't believe me, watch him closely. The way he looks at you is different. But there are no buts. If you hope to build a better future, Wang Jiwei is your best option. Li Qinglan did not want Qin Lijun to pin all her hopes on Gu Qinghuai. The Gu family was far from ideal. Even though the novel depicted the main couple's life happily after returning to the city, Qin Lijun had given up her job to care for the children and Gu Qinghuai's parents full-time. Gu's parents had never liked her, and she endured constant hardship. It proved Gu Qinghuai did not love her nearly as much as he claimed. I need some time to think. Qin Lijun wandered off looking dejected. Li Qinglan sighed as she watched her go. She could do no more to help. After returning to the city, Wang Jiwei entered government service and rose steadily through the ranks. He was an outstanding man. Far better than the hypocritical Gu Qinghuai. Several more days passed. On the day before grain delivery, news that the Feng family's home had been confiscated finally reached Dade Village. As soon as she heard it, Li Qinglan hurried back to the educated youth dormitory to find Feng Lily. Feng Lily, gather all your valuables and give them to me. I'll hide them safely for you. Why? Feng Lily stared at her, utterly confused. No one else had told her the news. Your family's property has been seized. Word has reached the village. Pack your valuables quickly and hand them over. I'm afraid someone in the dormitory will report you. What? How could this happen? It can't be true. Feng Lily shook her head, unable to accept the news, and tears streamed down her cheeks. Don't cry. What's done is done. We need to find a way to cope. Give me your valuables first. Li Qinglan sighed. This was all the assistance she could offer. Everything else would depend on Feng Lily herself. All right, I'll get them now. Wiping away her tears, Feng Lily hurried into her room. Fortunately, all her belongings were stored in one trunk, easy to retrieve. Pack your quilts and nicer clothes too. I'll take them all away with me. Keep only 2 sets of clothes for daily wear and just 1 old quilt. Leave nothing else out. Understood. Feng Lily was stunned and could only follow Li Qinglan's instructions instinctively. She finished packing soon after. Li Qinglan picked up the bundles and rushed up toward the bamboo grove. Once she reached a secluded spot, she stored all the items inside her spatial storage. Meanwhile, Gu Qinghuai was already on the road with more than a dozen red guards. Comrade Gu, are you certain the daughter of Commander Feng is working in the countryside at Dade Village? Absolutely. We went to school together and have known each other since childhood. There is no mistake. Gu Qinghuai offered cigarettes to the red guards, bowing and scraping, nothing like the privileged young man he usually acted as. Leave this matter to us. We will bring her in and keep her out of your way. Thank you very much. I'll treat you all to a drink once this is settled. A vicious glint flashed across Gu Qinghuai's eyes. He had not planned to turn against Feng Lily, but she had grown far too difficult recently. She opposed him at every turn and even spoke ill of him around the village. You should head back first. We don't want anyone to see us working together. Shortly after Li Qinglan left with Feng Lily's belongings, Gu Qinghuai returned to the educated youth dormitory. At the same time, the Red Guard unit had arrived at the production brigade leader's house. Seeing the Red Guards, the brigade leader's heart sank. Comrades, what brings you here? Brigade leader, we've received word that a member of the black category is sheltered in your village. Hand her over at once. The lead Red Guard spoke arrogantly, showing no respect for the brigade leader. What black category member? Everyone in our production brigade has a clear record. We have no such person. The brigade leader frowned, angered by their attitude. He was determined to stand his ground. They would not arrest anyone from his village. Don't try to stall. The person we seek is an educated youth surnamed Feng. Her father has been removed from his post and his home confiscated on suspicion of leaking state secrets. You are slandering a leading cadre. Get out of here. Date Village does not welcome you. The brigade leader flew into a rage. Commander Feng had served faithfully and with integrity. He would not allow these idle troublemakers to speak ill of him. Brigade leader, do not obstruct official work or we will not show leniency. One Red Guard brandished a wooden stick, attempting to intimidate him. How dare you? I am the brigade leader. If you strike me, I will go straight to the city to speak to your director. The brigade leader was not intimidated. The director of the Revolutionary Committee was related by marriage to Director He. As long as Director He protected Feng Lily, the Revolutionary Committee would not act against her. These rabble could not harm the commander's daughter without bringing trouble upon themselves. Haha, do you truly think we fear a brigade leader? Besides, our director is away from the city right now. You won't be able to find him even if you try. The lead Red Guard laughed loudly at his words. It seems you came here today set on stirring up trouble. The brigade leader shot a glance at his wife, signaling her to gather the villagers. If you refuse to lead the way, we will manage on our own. Don't come to regret it later. Men, head straight for the educated youth dormitory. Seeing the brigade leader would not cooperate, the Red Guards left his house and marched toward the dormitory. Back at the dormitory, Gu Qinghuai had sent Wang Jiwei and Li Nan out on an errand before seeking out Qin Lijun. When the Red Guards arrived, only Feng Lily and Hu Xiaomei were present. They were preparing food in the kitchen and were startled by the sudden intrusion. Who are you? Who permitted you to enter the dormitory? Feng Lily paled the moment she saw the Red Guards. She had clung to hope until that moment. Now she knew Li Qinglan had been right. Someone within the dormitory intended to ruin her. Are you Feng Lily? We have received a report labeling you a member of the black category. You are also accused of harboring bourgeois thinking. We intend to search your room. You must cooperate with our work. You have no right to search my room. I refuse. Terrified though she was, Feng Lily stepped forward firmly. You have quite a temper, but you have no choice in this matter. The lead man stepped toward Feng Lily, staring at her sharply. Stay away from me. If you come any closer, I will call for help. Feng Lily trembled with anger. She never expected the Red Guards to act so aggressively in broad daylight. Haha, we shall see how defiant you remain once we finish searching your quarters. Brother, she looks quite well off. Maybe we ought to take her back with us. A subordinate's comment was cut off mid-sentence. Enough. We're here to carry out official duties. Set aside other thoughts. Feng Lily, lead the way to your room. Move quickly and do not dawdle. Worried his subordinates would create unnecessary complications, the lead Red Guard halted their chatter. Feng Lily's room had already been nearly emptied. She had nothing to hide from their search. She calmly led them to her doorway and opened the door for them to inspect. Stepping inside, the Red Guards stared in surprise. Gu Qinghuai had told them the commander's daughter possessed considerable wealth. Yet the room held nothing of value, only basic furniture. Have you finished searching? Leave my room at once if you have found nothing. Feng Lily cared little for their suspicions. As an educated youth assigned to Day Village, they could not take her away without evidence. Feng Lily, your room is far too bare. Did you receive advance warning and move all your belongings elsewhere? The lead Red Guard sensed something was amiss. If Feng Lily truly owned nothing, she would not have furnished her room so decently. That is slander. If you find no evidence, leave my room immediately. Feng Lily's heart was pounding with fear, yet she could not let it show. To keep Li Qinglan from getting dragged into trouble, she had to act as if she knew nothing. Feng Lily, you're something else. Just wait till I get my hands on you, and you'll regret it. The lead man shot Feng Lily a cold look before turning and walking out of her dormitory. The other members wearing red armbands followed their leader and left one after another. Once they were far enough away, Feng Lily's legs gave way, and she slumped to the ground, bursting into tears. She owed her safety to Sister Qinglan today. Otherwise, she would have been finished. Comrade Feng, get up. Hu Xiaomei held out her hand and pulled Feng Lily to her feet. She had been terrified just now and dared not go near Feng Lily's dormitory. She only mustered up the courage to check on Feng Lily after seeing the red armband group leave. I'm all right. I was truly scared out of my wits just now. I thought they were going to take me away. Recalling what had happened, Feng Lily still felt a jolt of dread. Those men with red armbands were ruthless. If they had arrested her, she would have stood little chance. I'm sorry. I was too frightened to speak up for you back then. Hu Xiaomei looked guilty. She had hidden in a corner without uttering a single word. It's all right. I understand why you stayed quiet in that situation. Feng Lily did not blame Hu Xiaomei. She knew how intimidating the red armband crew was, and she would probably have hesitated to stand up for someone else too. I'm glad you feel that way. You've had a terrible fright. Let me fix dinner for you. Hoping to make up for her inaction, Hu Xiaomei volunteered to cook. Thank you, Comrade Hu. I'm still shaken, so I'd be grateful for your help. Feng Lily said sincerely. By the time the village leader hurried over with several men, the red armband group was already gone, and quiet had returned to the educated youth settlement. Comrade Feng, are you all right? I'm fine, village leader. They searched my dormitory thoroughly and left after finding nothing. I failed in my duty today. I couldn't stop them, and you've suffered wrongfully. The village leader looked remorseful. He had been tied up handling other matters and only saw the red armband group storming off when he returned to the village committee office. Village leader, do you know who reported me? Feng Lily bore no resentment toward him. She only wanted to uncover the informant. I don't have the answer yet, but I will look into it and find out who traveled to the city today. The village leader was equally eager to expose the backstabber, whose behavior he found despicable. You don't need to investigate. I already know who reported you. Just then, Li Qinglan walked in from outside. Sister Qinglan, you're back. I was terrified a little while ago. Feng Lily was deeply thankful to Li Qinglan. If she had not removed her incriminating belongings in time, the outcome would have been disastrous. It was Gu Qinghuai. I chased after the red armband group earlier and overheard them complaining about Gu Qinghuai. Li Qinglan's dislike for Gu Qinghuai deepened. She despised people who struck from the shadows. The village leader was utterly shocked to hear Gu Qinghuai's name. Hadn't he and Feng Lily been sweethearts not long ago? What? Gu Comrade reported you? Could you have misheard? I didn't mishear. Gu Qinghuai bears a grudge against you for clashing with him recently, so he turned you in. Li Qinglan had suspected Gu Qinghuai would retaliate against Feng Lily, though she had not expected it to happen so soon. Gu Qinghuai was petty and vengeful. After all the friction between him and Feng Lily these days, he had been harboring resentment. That was why today's incident came as no surprise to her. When did I clash with him? I only scolded him a few times for being lazy. Feng Lily refused to admit she had provoked him. Comrade Feng, you ought to keep your distance from Gu Comrade from now on. Otherwise, you might fall victim to his schemes without realizing it. The village leader sighed and shook his head. Feng Lily really failed to grasp how cruel people could be. If Li Qinglan had not stepped in, Gu Qinghuai's plot might have ruined her. Thank you for the warning, village leader. I'll be more careful. Feng Lily appreciated the village leader's support. Over these months, he had looked out for her repeatedly. As a newly arrived educated youth, she would never have been assigned the relatively easy work at the threshing floor without his protection. Seeing that Feng Lily was unharmed, the village leader left with his men. Such a serious incident needed to be reported to higher authorities. It was past 5 in the afternoon when Wang Jiwei and Li Nan trundled back carrying firewood. As soon as they stepped inside, they spotted Feng Lily with red, swollen eyes. Lily, what's wrong? Did someone bully you? Wang Jiwei knew she had suffered a great injustice. She was usually cheerful and rarely cried. You two are finally back. I nearly got taken away by the red armband group. Feng Lily stepped forward and lightly hit Wang Jiwei, her face filled with grievance. Red armbands? We only headed up the mountain to collect firewood. Why would they suddenly come looking for you? Li Nan stared at Feng Lily in confusion. Everything had been fine before they left. I think I can guess what happened. Was it Gu Qinghuai who reported you? Wang Jiwei quickly put the pieces together. No wonder Gu Qinghuai had sent them to gather firewood right after returning. He had wanted the red armband group to seize Feng Lily while they were away. Wang Jiwei, don't talk nonsense. How could Qinghuai report Lily? Li Nan refused to believe him. He had grown up alongside Gu Qinghuai, they knew each other well and shared a close bond. Besides, Gu Qinghuai and Lily had already broken off their engagement. He had no motive to report her. Li Nan, Wang Jiwei is telling the truth. Gu Qinghuai is the informant. He's a vile man, ungrateful and treacherous. I was blind to trust him. Feng Lily seethed with anger. She never imagined Gu Qinghuai would treat her this way. Even after their engagement ended, they had known each other since childhood. What happened today left her heartbroken. How could he do this? We grew up together. Li Nan squatted down and held his head, struggling to accept the truth. Where's Li Jun? Did he send her out too? Wang Jiwei glanced toward Feng Lily's dormitory, but saw no sign of Chen Li Jun. It goes without saying. He must have sent Li Jun away as well. Feng Lily recalled seeing Chen Li Jun working at the threshing floor earlier, but she had not seen her since. There's no point dwelling on that now. Lily, you need to keep a low profile from now on. Your clothes draw too much attention. Later, I'll take you to see Second Aunt Wang and ask if you can swap for some of Wang Erhua's old clothes. Li Qinglan could not stay by Feng Lily's side forever. The only long-term solution was for Feng Lily to protect herself. If she could endure until Jiang Jihai was discharged from the army next year, there would be someone reliable to shield her. What? I have to wear old clothes. You can refuse if you like. But if you keep standing out, people will keep reporting you time and again. What will you do then? Human nature was cruel. Once someone fell on hard times, others would rush to push them further down. Li Qinglan could only offer limited help. She was just an ordinary person, hardly a match for Gu Qinghuai, who had grown up in a military compound. Very well. I'll wear them. I can trade the pair of black leather shoes in my cabinet for the old clothes. Feng Lily had no other choice. She also worried whether Uncle He had been implicated by what happened. Don't leave many belongings in your dormitory. Store them at Li Qinglan's place. Also, avoid going to the city recently. I'll try to find news about your parents. Wang Jiwei feared Feng Lily would rush into the city to search for information about her family and run into the red armband group again. I can't wait. I'm going to see Uncle He tomorrow. How can I stay calmly in Dave Village when my parents are in trouble? Feng Lily shook her head. Her parents were in danger. She could not afford to wait. Lily, listen to me. If you go to the city, you'll only bring more trouble to Uncle He. Let me go in your stead. Write a letter right away, and I'll leave for the city with it. Li Qinglong also planned to visit the black market in the city. The wild boar meat stored in her spatial space was taking up space. All right. I'll write the letter now. Thank you, Sister Qinglong. Foam Lily quickly wiped away her tears and hurried back to her room to write. Today's events had caught her completely off guard. To avoid alerting Gu Qinghuai, she waited until dusk before leaving the educated youth settlement with the letter. When she reached the village entrance, she pulled an electric scooter out of her spatial space. Date Village was roughly 7 kilometers from Harbin. Walking would waste more than an hour of her time. She had explored many parts of Harbin when searching for Feng Lily and Chen Lijun previously. Once she arrived in the city, she soon reached Director He's home. Only Director He's wife was at home. She looked surprised when she opened the door and saw Li Qinglong. You're the educated youth who came to the countryside with Lily? Yes, and he. This is the letter Lily wrote. She wants to ask how her parents are doing. Li Qinglong handed over the letter. Tell Lily not to worry. Arrangements have already been made for her parents. They will be all right. And he sighed. She had known the Feng family would face hardship, yet she had not expected the higher authorities to send them all the way to the northwest frontier. And I know you want to spare Lily by hiding the news that her parents were relocated. But someone reported her today. If we hadn't hidden her belongings ahead of time, the Red Armband Group would have arrested her. What? Lily was reported? Who did this? Auntie's face paled in shock. If anything happened to Lily, how would she and her husband explain themselves to Chief Foam?